तो किस तरीके का माहौल था यहाँ पे?
रात को 8:30 से लेके 12 तक चलता रहा, धमाकों की आवाज़ें आती रही हैं और ब्लैकआउट था, लाइट पूरी बंद थी। बाकी फिर 12 बजे के बाद शांति हो गई थी। फिर सुबह 4:45 बजे 2 धमाके हुए, फिर उसके बाद सभी उठ गए, नॉर्मल हो गया, सारा लाइट लूट आ गई।
आप सुबह आए वॉक करने, तो इतना यहाँ पे ब्लास्ट की आवाजें आई, ये सब हुआ, तो घबराहट नहीं हुई या कॉन्फिडेंस?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं था, बस नॉर्मल था सब कुछ।
सर आप भी सुबह वॉक करने आए हैं सर, कैसा मूड है, क्या जोश है?
ठीक है, बढ़िया मूड है। हमने तो 65 और 71 की वार देखी हुई, जब एयरक्राफ्ट आते थे और एंटी एयरक्राफ्ट गन से फायरिंग होती थी, वो भी टाइम देखा हुआ है। ये तो है ही कुछ नहीं, ये तो हवाई सारे मार गिराए जा रहे हैं।
कॉन्फिडेंस पूरा है।
फोर्सेस के बारे में क्या कहेंगे, पूछो हमारे एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम
आगे क्या रहे?
आगे तो ये
हमारे फोर्सेस के बारे में क्या कहेंगे? फोर्सेस ने एक मिसाइल भी नीचे नहीं गिरने दी।
फोर्सेस ने बहुत बढ़िया काम किया, हमारी फोर्सेस ने।
S400 S400।
So yes, as you heard there, that all these people are very confident and proud regarding the manner in which our forces have responded to the
S400, the MRAMs, Akash. It's a unified air defense system that's come into play, Anshul, and that is why this Friday morning we should tell all our viewers, all is well. Bharat is in control. Bharat has pummeled the Pakistan military, and it has shamed them multiple times. So that's the current status this Friday morning, and we'll wait for another briefing that is scheduled. There are other non-kinetic offensives that Bharat is going to mount, most importantly to try and hyphenate Pakistan as a terror state. So terror state Pakistan, is this going to be a global branding exercise that Bharat is going to unleash? We'll get the diplomatic perspective very soon. We're hoping that there will be a scheduled briefing. And of course, information to be disseminated to among the locals, among the civilian population, when a nation is in a state of engagement or in a state of war. Perhaps that will also amp up through the day, through the course of this Friday. We'll get you more updates and also reactions internationally. Our ambassadors, our envoys are also speaking nations where they need to be heard, and also correcting and setting the international narrative right, and also trying to quell the disinformation campaign that's being pushed by the Pakistanis. All that and more when we come back after a short break. Stay with us.
What smart is it?
We know that at least one explosion has been heard around the Jammu airport, so that's the map that we've tried to locate. It's heavily populated around these pockets, Jammu city. This white line that you're seeing is the international border. So remember, this is no longer just artillery shelling across the line of control. Massive, heavy artillery shelling is happening across the international border. You also have the campus of the Sher-e-Kashmir University here, but the Jammu airport, Karan Bagh, Lower Garigad, Miran Sahib, Kotli Mian, this area just south of Gandhinagar seems to be the area that is being focused right now. You can see these artillery shells. The picture on the right hand side is that of the artillery shells coming from the other side of the international border. They have been targeting the Jammu, Poonch, Rajouri sector over the last 24 hours in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. It's not just LC violations, it's not just violations in Kupwara and Baramulla across the line of control, but it is also significantly massive artillery shelling across the international border here in Jammu as well. So this is around the area where the attacks are happening right now. We know that one of the locations happens to be the Jammu airport. There have been a couple of locations in Jammu city as well which have been targeted. Again, like I said, we don't know if this has been intercepted. We don't know if this has actually hit the ground and what kind of fatalities or casualties there are because of this incessant shelling. But I also want to go across and show you the video from our big wall. What you can see, it's a dark sky. You can see two points of light just flashing through the sky. Here you go. This is one, and then one right behind. Now, right after this, it lands. It lands in a few seconds. You can hear a huge thud. Obviously, from the place where it's been taken, you don't know. You don't know, what the impact was. You can just hear the sound. These two lights go across this dark sky, and then you can hear a big thud. We presume that there has been some damage, but we don't know what kind of damage it is left behind. You can't see the explosion, but these are the two artillery shells that we are seeing. This video, of course, is from Jammu city. We're given to understand, and I can go back to Ishan as well as to Akash. Do we have any sense, Ishan, how many places in Jammu we are seeing reports of this or hearing reports about the artillery shells coming through from the other side of the international border?
Well, sirens have also been sounded in Aknoor. There is blackout in Katra and also around Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine. So there are multiple places where the administration believes and the government believes that they could be on the target. But what we have been also given to understand at the moment is that air defense system has been activated to reduce the damage to the minimum. Look, Jammu city is very tight, and any shell which can land can create a lot of damage. So that is why
Pakistan started the conflict with its support for terrorism. Indians were the victim of terrorism. While I was initially critical that Prime Minister Modi had taken so long to respond, in hindsight, it's clear that the Indian military was carefully planning, and the Indian military has shown itself to be far more capable. Pakistan is thrashing about, looking for a way to save face. But Asim Munir should understand that the first rule of hole digging is when you're in a hole, stop digging. The fact of the matter now, looking forward, there can only be one metric by which we look at the diplomatic solution to this issue. Pakistan has to be designated by the United States to be a state sponsor of terror.
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
And also, since you understand and you are both of you well read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he's been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the successes which Baloch Liberation Army has actually achieved.
That's why I said, is he one of the most failed generals of Pakistan? One, the most popular leader was incarcerated. Wahi unpopular ho gaya. He didn't deserve to be army chief. He became army chief. He usurped somebody's position. Third, the Baloch have bajawed them. The Pakistani military. The Jafar Express is the biggest embarrassment. Usse pehle November last year also they had this entire, when they took over an entire city for 3 days. Then the Afghans, they are upset with him. The Sindhi, the Cholistan project has rendered him very, very unpopular again. That's his pet project, and he's accused of perhaps even siphoning of billions from that, making money off it. And now currently with what he's inflicted upon Pakistan. So, and 3 nights of reversals. एक तो आपने कहा हम तैयार है, आ जाओ कोशिश करो, हमने 9 जगह ठोक दिया उनको, सारे टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ध्वस्त कर दिए. देन बोला हम आएंगे, जवाबी कार्रवाई करेंगे, सब फेल हो गए. फिर हमने उनके ADSs को we've demolished in Pindi, in Lahore, in Karachi, in Sialkot. Then last night they tried again. And nothing has worked there. Nothing has worked. And we've countered there, and there is a huge amount of pummeling. We are waiting for the official briefing, but we are given to understand Pakistan has suffered huge reversals last night in the retaliation from Bharat based on the equal measure retaliation. उन्होंने 15 location choose किए हैं, हमने भी 15 location में उनको काफी मारा है. They are not coming out and saying it, but we will claim, and perhaps there will be a briefing today for more details on what's happened last night. But right now, some more news coming through before we go back to General Kocher. We are learning from defense sources. At least 45 drones were taken down by the Army Air Defense itself. And this is between Ladakh to Bhuj. So military infrastructure in Leh was also targeted last night by Pakistan. No success from the length and breadth of such a long area, geographical space they've tried to cover. Akash joining us with more. Yes, Akash.
Anand, first of all, it is largely peaceful in the morning hours, so no need to panic. It is for the general public.
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the...
The situation, the tensions between these two nuclear-powered countries, India and Pakistan, is escalating. Is that true?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the CNN. When you talk of tensions and when you talk of escalation, what I would say is that the original escalation or the original breakout of tension happened on 22nd of April, when you had 4 terrorists backed by Pakistan carried out killings, brutal killings, subhuman, monstrous kind of killings of 26 civilians.
Indian civilians.
25 of them Indian nationals, 1 of them Nepali national. And the brutality of the killings, they essentially kill them in front of their innocent wives, in front of their innocent children. They gave them headshots, and they did so on the basis of religion. So they killed all non-Muslims who were there in the group. They identified their religion, and then they went on to proceed to kill them. So what we did the day before yesterday was essentially our response to terror, our response to these subhuman...
when you say what you did yesterday, meaning the escalation in the military response.
As I said, the original escalation was on 22nd of April. And when that happened, we had clearly said that, we are a responsible country. We will have a very measured, calibrated, proportionate, responsible response. And that's what we did day before yesterday. What we did was we took out the terror factories at 9 locations in Pakistan and in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Took them out where they trained them, they cooked them, they armed them, they organized them. Those are the facilities which we took out. We were very careful in excluding the military establishment, the socialist structures, and economic infrastructure. We were very, very cautious, careful in keeping our targets only to those people and their backers who carried out these dastardly killings on the 22nd.
What can you tell us, Mr. Ambassador, about these explosions that are now being heard in the Indian-administered parts of Kashmir?
Yeah. First of all, I'm sorry, but let me correct you that the entire Jammu and Kashmir is a integral and inalienable part of India. And I think The only issue to be resolved there is the return of the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which is there. We have been hearing reports of some activity of this kind. We don't have the operational details relating to that. But again, what these show is that what it shows the world, what it shows us, what it shows everybody is that Pakistan has again decided to stand with the terrorist. Rather than take action against them, they are essentially lending them support. We wouldn't be surprised if they are themselves involved in this. But that's what is the message which they are telling the world, that we are with terrorists. We are not with the rest of the civilized world, rest of the humanity. And our belief lies, and Pakistan's belief lies, in perpetrating these proxies of terror, brutal killings of the innocent civilians.
And as you know, Pakistan has denied involvement. We will have the Pakistani ambassador later on today on CNN. But just bottom line, how would you describe the situation right now with Pakistan? Of course, India and Pakistan are two nuclear powers. Are you at war right now?
To your first point about Pakistan's denial, that has always been the first part of Pakistani strategy, denial and obfuscation. They have this unique characteristic where they assume responsibility of their past actions in future, not in the present moment. 9/11, where was Osama bin Laden found? World Trade Center bombings of 93, the perpetrator of that. Where was the killer of Daniel Pearl found? 26/11 Mumbai attacks, where American nationals also died. Where were those perpetrators found? And this is not me telling you this. This is a few days ago, the defense minister of Pakistan openly admitted this on the Sky News network, that we have been supporting terrorism for the last 30 years.
Terror state Pakistan. That's the diplomatic push now, or the diplomatic offensive that Bharat seems to be unleashing across the world. Be it the Indian ambassador to the United States, Vinay Mohan Kawatra, be it Vikram Doraiswamy, the Indian ambassador to the United Kingdom, be it the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in his briefing. This seems to be the diplomatic push. As we say good morning to our viewers this Friday, we'd like to tell our viewers in Bharat, all across Bharat, all is well. Our forces, the air defense systems, the leadership, the collective will has been able to foil yet another cowardly attempt across multiple cities of Bharat over the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May by the Pakistan military. It's a hat-trick of failures for General Asim Munir, perhaps the most shamed general or failed general in Pakistan military history, if we set aside the 1971 episode. What Pakistan wants to do with its failed military general and its failing military is up to Pakistan. But what Bharat is going to do is to continue to mount the offensive, kinetic and non-kinetic. We'll tell you all that and more. But this Friday morning, Bharat wakes up confident, Bharat wakes up positive, Bharat wakes up strong, and Bharat wakes up resilient. Because not a single missile, projectile, drone intent, nefarious intent of the Pakistan military on Bharatiya soil has succeeded. They have all been foiled. We'll tell you all about that and more in the headlines. Loud sounds were heard in Jammu after Pakistan launched drones towards Bharat. CNN News 18 has accessed visuals of the moment when loud explosions were captured on camera, and these were explosions of our air defense systems negating, neutralizing the Pakistani drones and projectiles. Amritsar DPRO has issued a statement advising citizens to stay indoors. The statement reads, all citizens are requested to stay indoors and away from the windows. The Amritsar DPRO has also advised citizens to avoid panic and backed the armed forces. After heavy unprovoked firing, Pakistan claimed civilian lives. Electricity has been restored in Baramulla. Situation continues to remain tense, with citizens advised to remain indoors largely, especially in the border areas and also areas along the line of control. Important meeting regarding India's renewed push for Pakistan's FATF grey listing is scheduled. the IMF meeting to be held at the Finance Ministry at 9:30 a.m. this Friday. Amid escalating tensions between Bharat and Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah is on the road from Srinagar to Jammu to take stock of the situation in the Jammu region. Pakistan is also running a parallel war with India, with trying hard to push disinformation, fake news on social media. And in the latest development, it claimed that there was a drone attack in Jalandhar and also circulated fake videos on social media. The Press Information Bureau has now fact-checked the same, clarifying that this is an unrelated video of a farm fire. The video has a time code of 7:39 p.m., whereas the drone attack started much later. The PIB has also fact-checked an old video that is being shared on social media with a claim that Pakistan has launched a missile attack on India in retaliation. PIB has clarified that this video being shared is of explosions that took place in Beirut in Lebanon in 2020, and further appealed to not fall for such propaganda that's being spread by Pakistani handles. Another fact check that's just come is about a port being attacked, and those are also fake videos and from a few years ago. Meanwhile, United States Vice President J.D. Vance has conveyed a message to Pakistan. Vance has said that India-Pakistan tussle is not the business of the United States, but added that de-escalation was the need of the hour. He said that the United States will not get involved in the middle of a war. PTI Khyber Pakhtunkhwa President Junaid Akbar has made an important statement. The PTI leadership is worried that missiles or drones may suddenly land on Adiala jail, and the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, may be neutralized. PTI patron-in-chief may be neutralized. That is what the PTI is afraid. They are afraid for Imran Khan's safety, and they believe that the current military establishment in Pakistan may use this current state of war with Bharat to neutralize Imran Khan. Indian ambassador to the United States, Vinay Mohan Kwatra, has said that Indian strikes in Pakistan were only aimed at terror hotbeds, and Pakistani military's retaliation is being seen by India as an attempt to protect terrorists, prompting further Indian strikes. Let's have a look at where all the Pakistanis tried their nefarious intent and where all they failed. Last evening, somewhere about 8:30, till about 9:15, there were continuous attacks and attempts made at these places: Avantipura, Uri, Udhampur, Srinagar. Srinagar, although they couldn't make too much of an entry, but Rajouri, Araspura, Satwar, Jammu region, Arnia, Akhnur, Pathankot, Jalandhar. There is also Leh. We are given to understand they attempted even in Leh. Then Jaisalmer. So at all these places, so you can count the number of regions: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and if we were to add Leh, 13 to 15 locations overall. The Pakistan military first tried to send drones, then along with that, after some time, tried to send projectiles or missiles. All of them, across the spread, all of them were negated by the United Air Defense Systems that include the MRSAMs, the S-400s, and Akash. This technology together was able to negate all these projectiles, loitering munitions that were sent in the air. So all that landed across the place were debris. None of the installations have been impacted. That's how Bharatiya Air Defense System, our Bharatiya forces, have been able to not just defend territory but foil any plans of the Pakistanis. Along with that, there has also been continuous cross-border firing and ceasefire violations. Ceasefire violations have taken place across the line of control. This artillery shelling has happened through the night, and it has been very intense artillery shelling by the Pakistani military. But let's assure you, viewers, that every Gola has been sent back with 10 times the intensity. Every Goli has been sent back with 10 times the intensity. That's what the forces are saying. So our forces are responding to artillery firing across the border and also the line of control in more than equal measure. So the pounding is immense on the other side. There was also Bharatiya counter. This is what we know, but we are given to understand it's been much more. Lahore, Pindi, Islamabad have borne the impact of Bharatiya response to the Pakistan military strike. So these three places there has been, and because there have been drones and there have been loitering munitions that have landed in Pindi near at a military installation there. The cricket match which was being conducted there under PSL has been stopped, and they have now moved out PSL. They have now moved out PSL, the remaining 8 matches, to the UAE. So that's what the PCB has done. There was a match in Dharamshala that was going on of the Indian IPL. That match was stopped midway because the lights went off and there was a blackout as a precautionary measure. But otherwise, the schedule remains the same. Life is normal, life is good, all is well across the larger part of Bharat. Only the border areas and some of these regions are witnessing a state of preparedness and a state of caution and a state of alert. Let's go across to Mudassir Qadri, who's joining us from this region. This is Uri. Uri has a problem, the viewers, because it is surrounded by 3 sides by the Pakistanis. And it's on the valley where the Pakistanis have the heights. Let's go to Mudassir and understand what's happened in Uri overnight. Mudassir, namaste, good morning. आज उरी में क्या हाल है? कल रात को क्या हुआ? आप कहाँ पे थे? Where were you all night? In terms of in this region, and locals वहाँ पर क्या दिख रहे हैं? क्या परिस्थिति है वहाँ पर?
Bilkul Anand, we are on ground zero at Uri, and I can show you the visuals. The people are running for the safety. The continuous ceasefire violations in Uri sector has created a panic among people, and the people are now running for their lives. The overnight intense artillery firing and shelling by Pakistani army was strongly retaliated by the Indian army. However, one lady have got killed and several persons have got injured due to the intense shelling by Pakistan on civilian targets. People are still running for safety and are demanding that they should be provided with bunkers, and other measures must be taken to safeguard the lives of the locals. And we will try to get the first-hand account, and you can see how people are leaving their houses and they are trying to move to safer locations, and there are chaos and confusions going on in and around the Uri sector. And we can tell you the intense shelling was done by this Pakistani army from Hajipir sector and Salamabad and command post areas, and there is a lot of panic among the people in the area, and we will try to talk with the people. नाम बताएं अपना
जी।
हाँ, नाम बताइए।
मेरा नाम इश्तियाक है।
तो अभी कहाँ जा रहे हैं?
अभी जा रहे हैं शेरी तक सर।
क्या वजह है?
शिलिंग की वजह से जा रहे हैं हम। रात को बहुत शिलिंग हुआ।
तो रात भर जिस तरह से हमने देखा कि काफी शेलिंग हुई है पाकिस्तान की तरफ से और सिविलियन आबादी को हिट किया गया है, तो क्या समझते हैं आप कितना बड़ा ये सीजफायर वाली?
डर की वजह से, खौफ की वजह से जा रहे हैं लोग बेचारे शेरी। क्या करेंगे इधर? मुश्किल में पड़ गए सब बेचारे। ये देखो आपके सामने भाग रहे हैं, क्या करें?
तो बंकर्स वगैरह
कुछ नहीं, कुछ फैसिलिटी नहीं है इधर, कुछ फैसिलिटी यहाँ पे कोई नहीं हमारे लिए।
तो जिस तरह से पाकिस्तान लगातार सिविलियन आबादी को हिट कर रहा है, तो क्या समझते हैं आप कितनी कायराना हरकत?
बहुत कायराना हरकत है। देखो ना, सिविल पे अटैक कर रहे हैं। कहाँ जाएंगे सिविल बेचारे अपना माल मवेशी घर बार छोड़ के? जिनको जगह बेचारे जाएंगे, जिनको नहीं ऐसे ही पड़े हुए हैं, क्या करेंगे?
आप बताइए।
लिमान
भट्ट साहब, अभी कहाँ जा रहे हैं?
हम बारामूला जा रहे हैं।
बारामूला जा रहे हैं, क्या वजह है? आप अभी जल्दी में है, अभी आप
शीलिंग हो रही है रात को, क्या करें? शीलिंग हुई, रात भर सोए नहीं, पूरी रात जागते रहे हम।
तो ये बता रहे हैं कि 1998 में इसी तरह की शेलिंग हुई या इससे ज्यादा?
आज ज्यादा हुई, इससे आज बहुत ज्यादा हुई शीलिंग। आज रात को हम 9 बजे से नहीं सोए अभी तक, पूरी रात ये भी मारते रहे, वही मारते रहे, पूरी रात शीलिंग। बैंकर नहीं है, कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है, तो एक ही घर हमारा बचा था। अब हम भी जा रहे हैं बारामूला।
तो अभी हमने देखा रात को कि कुछ आग भी लगी थी उन एरियाज में, तो
जी
उसकी कोई
लगाव में आग लगी थी, लगाव में उधर कोई गोला पड़ा था, लगाव में आग लगी थी, तो नुकसान भी हुए, काफी लोग नुकसान भी हो गए। अब देखते हैं अल्लाह ही क्या करता है।
तो ये बताइए, अभी गवर्नमेंट से क्या डिमांड कर रहे हैं आप?
गवर्नमेंट से ये डिमांड करते हैं बैंकर शैकर मिल जाए हमें। बैंकर की सबसे जरूरत है इस टाइम, क्योंकि बैंकर के बगैर यहाँ रहने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, क्योंकि बैंकर के बगैर यहाँ तो हर जगह छड़े पड़ते हैं, खिड़कियों के छड़े पड़ते हैं। Thank you, sir.
So Anand, this is the ground situation. Almost half of the population have already vacated to safer places.
Mudassir,
and you can see
Mudassir, they said
people,
something. Can you? We're going to stay with Mudassir. He's not there with us for a long time because he's going across to the other network platforms also. But Mudassir, उन्होंने कहा 1998 से ज्यादा shelling हुई है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल आनंद, जिस तरह से इनका ये कहना है कि जिस तरह से अगर हम पास्ट की बात करेंगे 1998 में, तो लगातार सीज़ फायर वॉयलेशंस यहाँ पर देखने को मिलती थी। तो उसके बाद जिस तरह से आज की हम बात करेंगे तो 1998 ये माना जा रहा था कि काफ़ी वरीसम साल जो है वो साबित हुआ था इन लोगों के लिए, क्योंकि लगातार यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान की जानिब से सीज़ फायर वॉयलेशंस हो रही थी। लेकिन आज इनका कहना है कि 1998 का भी रिकॉर्ड जो है वो टूट गया है, और लगातार जिस तरह से शेलिंग हुई है उसकी वजह से ये लोग अब कितने खौफ में है, दहशत में
कहना
है,
है
आप इसका अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं।
और इनका कहना है कि वहां बंकर्स नहीं है, लोकल्स के लिए उरी में बंकर्स नहीं है।
हाँ, बिल्कुल, जिस तरह से 1998 में बंकर जो है वो प्रोवाइड किए गए थे इनके लिए, लेकिन उसके बाद जिस तरह से एक सीज फायर जो मुआहदा किया गया था, तो उसके बाद यहाँ पर शांति थी, तो अमन थी। हालांकि एक दुके वाक़यात जो है वो होते रहे बीच-बीच में, या टेरर इंसिडेंट्स वो होते रहे बीच में, लेकिन इस तरह की सीज फायर वॉयलेशन 1998 के बाद पहली बार हो रही है। और यही वजह है कि यहाँ के लोग जो थे वो चैन में थे, सुकून में थे, लेकिन अचानक जिस तरह से सीज फायर वॉयलेशंस होती है, फिर सिविलियन टारगेट्स को हिट किया जाता है, तो ऐसे में इनको अब जो है बैंकर्स की डिमांड जो है वो बढ़ रही है, और ये चाहते हैं कि बंकर्स जो है वो इनको प्रोवाइड किए जाए। और साथ ही साथ जिस तरह से ये लोग अब ये भी चाहते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट जो है इनकी लाइव्स जो है उनको सेफगार्ड, इनकी सेफ्टी के लिए और भी जो स्टेप्स हैं, मेजर्स हैं वो उठाए,
Right.
ताकि इनकी जो
I
जानें
think
हैं वो बचाई
Mudassir,
जा
thank
सके।
you and stay safe. You
Yes.
and your VJ, great job done on ground. And I think the district administration will be mindful of this. Uri is, like we said, I've been there. It's actually surrounded by Pakistani posts because they have the heights, and Bharat is at the lower areas. So this is where the surgical strikes happened post the Uri attacks, where where the terrorists had come from the heights, entered into the army camps, and they had used the advantage because they had the heavy oversight. They've got the heights to see and down, and they are bearing down on the civilians. So that's why the guns are also firing from a distance, but they know exactly where to pinpoint. And the civilian establishments come right in the middle of all the crossfire and the shelling. So the locals there moving to safer moving to the safer places, but we are also given to understand that there is shelling and gunfire that is still taking place. But right now, this morning, we just had the update from Uri. Right now, there is no shelling that's going on, but all through the night till the wee hours, till dawn, there has been continuous shelling. So Pakistanis were firing, and India was giving it back in equal measure. So there was crossfire or exchange of heavy artillery gunfire on Uri. But let's try and go across to our guest this morning, Glenn Carl, Colonel Grohit Dev, and also Brahmachalani, Professor Brahmachalani with us. My good morning to all of you gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Late in the evening for you, Glenn, but thank you. Thank you for joining us. Just quickly going across to our reporter joining us from Jaisalmer. Jaisalmer witnessed a slew of attempts at some of the military installations in Jaisalmer by the Pakistanis via drones, loitering munitions, and also projectiles. There was also talk late last evening that there has been a huge success with the felling of an F-16. So let's get some clarity from Bhavani. Bhavani, आप जैसलमेर पहुंचे हैं. Good morning. पूरी रात काफी वहां पर एक्टिव रहा है. आप बताएं कि क्या क्या अपडेट्स हैं और कितनी बातों में तथ्य है, सत्य है. ये F-16 एक पायलट का पकड़ा जाना, काफी सारी बातें वहां पर राउंड्स कर रही थी. तो व्हाट हैज हैपेंड इन जैसलमेर?
जी गुड मॉर्निंग. इस वक्त जैसलमेर में हूँ. जैसलमेर में हनुमान चौक पर हूँ. ये वो जगह है जहाँ रात में जिस तरीके से जो यहाँ पर तस्वीरें हैं, रात की तस्वीर थी जहाँ पर हनुमान चौक पर, जहाँ ड्रोन जिस तरीके से यहाँ आसमान में मंडरा रहे थे. मेरे पीछे मिलिट्री जो एयरबेस स्टेशन है वहाँ उसको टारगेट किया गया था. अब की तस्वीर, एक तस्वीर बता देता हूँ फिर बाकी बात करेंगे. अब देखिए कि जैसलमेर की तस्वीर. इस वक्त आप देखिए कि लोग यहाँ पर, दुकानें खुल चुकी है, लोग आ चुके हैं, चाय पी रहे हैं आराम से. हमने काफी लोगों से भी बात भी की और भी बात करेंगे. यहाँ पर अब लोगों का कहना, जो दहशत थी, रात को डर था, वो दहशत अब नहीं है और ब्लैकआउट खत्म कर दिया गया. जैसलमेर के अंदर रात भर से ब्लैकआउट था, वो खत्म कर दिया गया. जैसलमेर ही नहीं, बॉर्डर के तमाम डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं जहां ब्लैकआउट फिलहाल खत्म कर दिया गया. यानी कि अब बिजली बहाल कर दी गई है और लोगों में इसलिए विश्वास बन रहा है, हौसला आया. और अब जो जिस तरीके से जो ड्रोन हमले हुए थे उसमें वो तो नाकाम किए ही थे एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम ने. अब उसके बाद में क्योंकि रात को कई सारी खबरें आती रही, लेकिन वो क्योंकि सेना की ओर से पुष्टि नहीं हुई, इसलिए हम उस पर बात नहीं करेंगे. पायलट की बात थी या बाकी बात थी, किसी की अभी पुष्टि नहीं है. एक तस्वीर जो साफ थी कि जिस तरीके से रात को अटैक हुआ था उसको नाकाम किया गया था और शहर के अंदर न कोई कैजुअलिटी हुई किसी तरीके की, न कोई जख्मी हुआ और जो हवा के अंदर ही ड्रोन को गिराया गया है वो हमारे एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम की ताकत थी जिसको गिरा दिया गया। उसी की वजह से लोगों के अंदर एक विश्वास बंधा और लोगों में भरोसा बंधा। हम लोगों से बात भी कर लेते हैं। आप बताएं सर, किस तरीके से रात को जो आपने देखा, मंजर देखा?
बिल्कुल देखा।
जिस तरीके से आपने ये देखा होगा कि ऊपर ड्रोन देख रहे थे, डर लगा आपको?
डर तो लगे ही है ना, डर तो लगे ही है ना। लाइटें बंद थी, हम अपने
बंद कर दी
लाइटें बंद।
रात भर दहशत रही होगी कि और अटैक हो जाए।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
शहर पे एकदम बड़ा अटैक
सद रहा था ना रात को।
अब हम देख रहे हैं कि अब आप भी बाहर आए हो, सारे लोग बाहर आए हैं,
अभी
तो
शांत माहौल है। अभी
सब शांत माहौल है। ये क्यों? ये आप पे भरोसा है कि रात को ड्रोन गिरा दिए गए?
बिल्कुल गिरा दिए ना।
किस पे? सेना पे भरोसा है?
सेना पे ही भरोसा है ना।
पूरा जैसलमेर अपनी बाहर नजर आ रहा है। आप बताएं क्या कहेंगे? अब तो आप आराम से चाय पी रहे हैं यहाँ पर खड़े हुए और हंस भी रहे हैं। रात को तो काफी डरे हुए थे।
जी
डर लग रहा था, अब लग रहा है डर?
अब नहीं लग रहा।
अब नहीं लगा। तो आप देखिए कि अब लोग यहाँ पर
नहीं
आराम
नहीं,
से
उनको
चाय
पूछे
की
एक भी
खुशियां
गिरा
ले रहे
क्या?
हैं।
एक भी
लोग
मिसाइल गिरा
अभी
था कि सबको उड़ा दिया? सबको भारत की सेना ने ऊपर ही ये कर दिया, नाकाम कर दिया।
अच्छा एक बात बता जी, आप बताएं कि आप रात को कोई जैसलमेर पे गिरा आपके मोहल्ले में कहीं पर भी आपने मिसाइल ड्रोन देखा? नीचे गिरा?
नीचे कहीं नहीं,
नीचे नहीं गिरा, ऊपर हवा में मार दिया गया।
हवा में मार दिया।
तो ये ताकत है नहीं है कि जैसलमेर में अगर गिर जाता तो क्या होता?
बहुत बुरे हाल होते।
आप बताएं कि ये
हम तो अभी आए।
तो जिस रात को आपने भी मंजर देखा होगा, गिरा तो नहीं, ड्रोन गिरे नहीं?
गिरने नहीं दिया। हमारी फौज ने गिरने नहीं दिया।
फौज ने गिरने नहीं दिया।
मजबूत फौज।
एयर डिफेंस बहुत अच्छा है, उसने ऊपर नाकाम कर दिया। पाकिस्तान ने जो नाकाम हरकत की थी उसको फौज ने हमारे नाकाम कर दिया।
ये हमारी फौज की ताकत है,
हमारी फौज की ताकत है।
एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम,
एयर डिफेंस और फौज की ताकत है।
और अगर वो गिर जाते तो जैसलमेर में क्या होता?
एक बार जो से ऊपर देखा था, एक बार बहुत लोग डर गए थे, डर का माहौल बन गया था।
हमने घर के अंदर चले गए थे, पूरा माहौल।
डर है? अब नहीं,
नहीं डर कोई नहीं।
हमारे फौज पे
हमारा आर्मी होते हैं, हमारे को
भरोसा है आपको?
आर्मी में भरोसा है, पूरा हिंदुस्तान आर्मी में भरोसा है।
तो देखिए कि ये लोगों के अंदर भरोसा आया। भरोसा इसलिए आया कि रात को जिस तरीके से ड्रोन गिराए गए उसके बाद में लोगों को लगता है कि सेना पर भरोसा है। उनको लगता है कि पाकिस्तान कोई भी हिमाकत करेगा तो उसका माकूल जवाब दे
पाकिस्तान
दिया
की
जाएगा।
प्लेन गिरा दी
तो
गई,
अब
ये काफी
इस
बात
तरीके-
हुई थी। इसमें कोई सत्यता है? वहां जैसलमेर में ऐसा कुछ हुआ था?
जी नहीं, क्योंकि अभी ने सेना की ओर से पुष्टि की गई है, ने लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की ओर से पुष्टि की गई है
जी।
यहाँ पर आसपास में गिराने को लेकर हमने बात भी की है, तो इसकी पुष्टि नहीं है। दूसरी बात यह है कि राजस्थान में सरकारी कर्मचारियों की छुट्टियां रद्द कर दी गई है। जैसलमेर के अंदर भी यहाँ जो अस्पताल है वहाँ रात को इमरजेंसी घोषित की गई थी। यहाँ पर डॉक्टरों को खासतौर पर इमरजेंसी के अंदर डेप्यूट किया गया था। इसी तरीके की इमरजेंसी हालात हो तो उससे कैसे निपटा जाए, जो स्वास्थ्य कर्मचारी हैं उनको अलर्ट रहने के लिए किया गया। तो तैयारी एक तरह से पूरी है और जैसलमेर और बॉर्डर इलाकों में
आज दिन में स्कूल खुले हैं कि सब कि लोगों को सब बंद कर दिया है? स्कूल ऑफिस सब चल रहा है, सामान्य रूप से चल रहा है?
देखिए स्कूल कॉलेजेस बंद है। स्कूल कॉलेजेस जैसलमेर में भी बंद है और इसके अलावा बॉर्डर इलाके हैं वहां पर भी बंद है अभी, क्योंकि सरकार की ओर से आज फैसला लिया जा सकता है कि क्या वो ओपन करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे। वो स्कूल कॉलेजेस को बंद रखा गया, बाकी जो सरकारी दफ्तर है, बाकी संस्थान है, वो सब खुले रहेंगे। बिजली को जो रात भर जो ब्लैकआउट था, अब वो ब्लैकआउट बंद कर दिया गया, यानी कि अब आज दिन भर बिजली रहेगी। शाम को क्या फैसला होगा वो लिया जाएगा। जी
थैंक यू भवानी। आप भी सेफ रहें, विजय भी सेफ रहें। जो लोग हैं उनको भी कहिए कि हमारे भी प्रेयर्स उनके साथ हैं। चाय का मजा उठा रहे हैं तो हमारे लिए भी एक कप चाय, एक प्याली गर्म पी लें। Thank you very, very much. With big update, our guests are there with us. Just want to let our viewers know and our guests know that there is going to be an MEA briefing. So we are expecting an MEA briefing. We'll try and get Siddhant on the phone line to understand at what time. But now I think the government has decided that there is going to be a daily briefing and it's going to be to give all the updates as things have happened. It's been quite an eventful last night, the intervening night of the 8th and 9th of May. Glenn Carl, so that's the MEA briefing. What time it is today, we'll try and get an update on that. The government is actually assessing the current situation, and based on that, there will be a briefing. There could be developments over the next 2 or 3 hours. There are still reports of certain amount of cross-border firing and some shelling that is happening, attempts that are happening in Jammu and Kashmir and some regions there. We'll try and get you those updates too. But Glenn Carl, the message from India is very clear. We do not want to go up the escalation ladder, but whatever Pakistan does, now we will mirror that with Pakistan. Is that a fair position to take? The other aspect that India has tried to put out to the world is that it is Pakistan that is backing terrorists. India hit at terror infrastructures. It is Pakistan that is targeting Indian military installations.
My only surprise really has been the extent of Pakistan's reactions. There's a pretty classic dynamic that normally occurs between two states that wish to make a statement, affirm their sovereignty, send a warning, and yet not have a general war or a deterioration. And that is you make the strike. The party that received the strike for honor and national sovereignty will make a nominal response, and then there's back channel discussion. That's the end of it. And this has not been what's happening. Pakistan has responded more strongly than that would normally play out if one were acting, in my view, rationally. And I honestly don't see what the objectives that Pakistan is engaging in is seeking to achieve. A war can only hurt them, except to the extent that it's a garrison state, and without the military, there is nothing really that coheres. It seems to me, but I confess I am bemused by why Pakistan is taking the steps that it is. India has acted in a classic fashion, and I believe with restraint proper for the circumstance.
That's perhaps the reason why, Professor Brahmachalani, that Bharat is now getting to the hyphenation point, where terror state Pakistan is the eventual attempt to try and plug it diplomatically. If you read the statements of Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri from last evening, Ambassador Vinay Mohan Kawatra, and also Ambassador Doraiswamy, that's exactly the diplomatic play.
Well, I think India's message through military retaliation is that Pakistan can no longer expect to target Indians with impunity, and that it will be held accountable for the terrorist groups that it nurtures in its asymmetric warfare. I think more fundamentally, India's Operation Sindoor represents a paradigm shift in India's strategic posture toward Pakistan. So far, India had been reactive, willing to let Pakistan off the hook for orchestrating cross-border terrorist attacks. We saw that under successive governments of India. Even when India's national symbols of power, like the Indian Parliament and the Red Fort in Delhi, were attacked, India did not impose costs on Pakistan. When the horrific Mumbai massacre occurred in 2008, even then, India did not impose costs on Pakistan. And under Prime Minister Modi, we have seen a series of attacks. And when Pathankot terror attack, the attack on the Pathankot airbase occurred, India invited the ISI to come and investigate its own attack. So today, what we are seeing is a dramatic shift in India's strategic posture. And I think we should recognize that now India is willing to take this Operation Sindoor to its logical conclusion.
Yeah.
And I think the Pakistani military generals did not expect that India's response would be so robust, because they thought that the way they retaliated to India's operation, to the Balakot airstrike in 2019, they carried out dramatic attacks in India, and India did not respond. They did not expect that this time India will respond in a robust manner.
But here, that's where the Pakistanis perhaps succeeded in the communication warrior. Balakot was a response to Pulwama. So Pulwama attacks happened and the Pulwama killings happened first. That the reaction was Balakot. In this case, Colonel Rohit Dev, thank you for your patience. I'm coming to you last because of 2-3 important aspects. One, that the world should not forget that it doesn't start with Operation Sindoor. It started with the Pahalgam massacre. Pahalgam massacre was enacted by Pak-backed terrorists. That's the response. The response was Operation Sindoor, where terror infrastructure was attacked. It was not Indian military personnel who were standing in a jihadi funeral. And it is a Pakistan state that gave the jihadis a jihadi funeral, a state funeral. And that prayer, we'll put those visuals if we can, that prayer was led by a US proscribed terrorist, Hafiz Abdul. That is what India is now highlighting, saying Pakistan's military response is in support of jihadis, who they are also mourning as soldiers. Who do you give a state funeral? Someone who accord as someone who served the country as a soldier. So you are saying that these jihadis are mujahideen. They are officially entities of the state. That's the bigger story that is now panning out from the India point of view, along with, of course, retaliation in equal measure. Your thoughts, please. Thank you.
Right. So I think you see, there is always a reason they are and call it casus belli, which was provided to India by hitting our civilians in Pahalgam. So we had an appropriate response, and for the first time in our brief as well, we said two things: non-escalatory and non-military targeting. So I think that was the reason to tell and reiterate to Pakistan that this is a punitive action for what you have done. And I'm not too sure if Pakistan was wise thereafter to target the civilian areas of India. And that is where they have given the second reason that we should also, ensue with our punitive actions, and we have done. I'm not going to go where we are going to go today or tomorrow, but coming to the funeral part, I must clarify. Pakistan mobilized 2 weeks ago when they carried out the strike, and when we said that we will strike back, they mobilized. And in traditional way, POK was hit for sure, but the Pakistani side of Sialkot, Muridke, Chakamru, and Bawalpur were also, targeted by us in terms of terror network headquarters. Why the headquarters are important is because at the time of mobilization, Pakistani Army and ISI officers are also found in this headquarters as a plan to strategize how to do a small subsector war. So I believe the Pakistani military was there. They were also hit. And that is the reason, that two reasons. Firstly, the state is governed by the terror network, run by the army itself. So obviously the army had to be at the funeral. But my guess is that some army folks also, conked off in that strike. And that is why it was shown the way it was shown, to give a befitting kind of a funeral from their sense to both their terrorist and the creator there, the army and ISI, together being, put in the coffins. So I think.
So you may make that assessment, and you're fair to make that assessment, but why would you allow a US proscribed terrorist in Hafiz Abdul Rauf, a Lashkar terrorist, to lead the prayers? And the
they
entire
don't care. Anand, they don't care. It's not a just war with Pakistan. It's more of an ideological war. It emanates from the time they used to have a lot of money coming from, the Middle East for Islamic Caliphate and all that, buzz that created that time. That's waned away. I won't be surprised even after that, ear ringing by the Secretary of State of the US. They still go and make some abstract decisions today and tomorrow, and then they pay heavily for it. So I think the messaging from our friends in US has been clear to Pakistan. Obviously, any responsible state will call out and say that we want peace to be restored and de-escalation to happen. That's a normal term.
No,
but it's something like that. They are trying to. The US is trying to tell the Pakistanis, it's up to you after this.
No,
and we are not supporting you. So support is went out.
Isn't from a strategic point of view, diplomatic point of view, nation point of view, and even as a military point of view, Glenn Carl, isn't General Hassan Munir making a mockery of himself? Isn't he made himself a global laughing stock because he has, in this one move, that entire hyphenation is erased. The Pakistan military always said, we have got nothing to do with non-state actors. But here the Pakistan military is giving, according a state funeral to jihadis. Isn't this the biggest parallel drawn?
Well, I'm a bad one to ask to make the brief for Pakistan. I agree with what you're saying. Yes,
no, I'm just understanding your assessment as a neutral. Even some.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think your
anybody
assessment
would not want to do this as an optics if you're trying to use a certain narrative. Hasn't he in that created the biggest harakiri and also 3 successful reversals So 3 consecutive reversals for a military general. This is egg on the face of the Pakistan military. Yeah, please. Sorry.
Yes, I think that's correct. And the only way I can make sense of what they're doing is that, as you know better than I think, for the past 50 years, there has been a progressive transformation in the nature of the Pakistani military and the Pakistani leadership and society. 50 years ago, officers were educated at Sandhurst or in the United States. And progressively, that was viewed as neocolonial and so on. And they have been educated in a much more Islamist paradigm. And I think that clearly has, and I know this from firsthand experience, penetrated deeply into and shaped the Pakistani intelligence service, the ISI. So I think that they probably are being sincere progressively in making statements and taking actions that we find abhorrent and that isolate them. But they're, in a sense, being true to the ideology that has come, or theology, that has come to dominate the ISI, thus the state and Pakistani society. That's very alarming, but that's the only way to make, quote, sense, unquote, for me, to why they would take these positions.
But how do you see the US position in this? J.D. Vance's statement is out, and how would you read what J.D. Vance is saying? Do you believe US is going to remain neutral, or is this the message to the Pakistanis that you're not getting any help from us? I'm just going to read out this, Glenn. He says, what we can do, and I'm quoting J.D. Vance here, what we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of the war. That's fundamentally none of our business and has got nothing to do with America's ability to control it. You know, America can't tell Indians to lay down their arms. We can't tell the Pakistanis to lay down their arms. And so we are going to continue to pursue this thing through diplomatic channels. Our hope and expectation is that this is not going to spiral into a broader regional war or, God forbid, a nuclear conflict. Right now, we don't think that's going to happen. How would you read this?
I think you put your finger on what is, in my view, also a shift in the American position. You know, Pakistan is has less of a hold on the United States and is less important to the United States than it has been for 50 years. The United States is no longer in Afghanistan, and we don't have this bizarre contradictory relationship where we need their help and try to oppose them or stop them from supporting the terrorists that we're talking about now. That's no longer the case. So the ostensibly neutral position of the United States is a shift, really, and saying that Pakistan has the sleep in the bed that it's made now. I think that is true. And of course, there are both bromides and yet sincere statements also that the vice president made, that no one wants a generalized war. Certainly nobody wants a nuclear exchange. That's bad for both parties and bad for the whole world. But that at present and for the foreseeable future, the United States is not going to do anything to take anyone's chestnuts out of the fire.
Fair point. We've just got more news coming through closer home. Pakistan has violated ceasefire again in Karna sector of Kupwara district. So this is along the line of control. Several areas have also been hit by Pak shelling in Kupwara. Akash joins us with more details. Yes, Akash.
Kupwara is in Kashmir, Anand, and is very much sharing a boundary. In fact, the line of control with Pakistan. Pakistan is once again, violating ceasefire. In fact, in the morning hours, they have been violating ceasefire. They are firing the artillery shells, and in fact, it is being retaliated as of now. What we have been given to understand, in fact, is that Indian Army, is very much there to retaliate, and their air defense units are very much protecting their critical and important infrastructure, not just in the hinterland but also in the border areas. Anand, we have been reporting that how at least 45 to 50, drones were downed by Army Air Defense Corps. And now we are learning that since, early morning hours were quite peaceful, but once again, they have started violation, specifically in the Kupwara and Uri. We have been learning of these gunfires and in fact the short arms fire as well. and in fact the artillery as well. So this is what we have been learning.
But there will also be equal measure or perhaps a far more calibrated, higher in ratio response from the forces. That's what the Indian forces. There's more news. Akash, stay on with us on the phone line. Now, on Thursday night, when Pakistan failed attempts and Pakistan's attempts were thwarted, this was when they tried to send drone swarms all across, various places along the line of control and the international border and through multiple states and union territories of Bharat. Over 45 to 50 drones were successfully neutralized during a large-scale counter-drone operation conducted by the Indian Army Air Defence units in areas of Udhampur, Samba, Jammu, Akhnur, Nagrota and Pathankot areas. The engagement involved extensive use of L-70 guns, Zu-23mm, the Shurka systems and other advanced counter-UAS equipment, demonstrating the Army's robust capability to counter aerial threats. Akash, so when we look at the UAS or the air defense systems, do they all come under the Army, or is it split between the Army and the Air Force depending upon which installation is being guarded?
So it is a split between Army and the Air Force. Army, as I mentioned earlier, Anand, is responsible for the air defense of their infrastructure, their deployment, their troops. But overall, the responsibility of air defense is with Air Force. And in such a time when we have war or warlike scenarios, Air Force, holds the control of the entire air defense system. Even when Army is doing it, it is in collaboration and with a coordinated effort between Indian Army and Indian Air Force. The point that you have, just read out, the guns, the Zu-23 and L-70, these are anti-aircraft gun, Anand, and, were very much used. In fact, when we talk about Zu-23, so it's a twin-barrel 23mm gun, that has got a caliber of 23 and 152 mm, and was very much used. It has got high explosives and was used against these drones that were sent, to multiple locations, including the military infrastructure. And all of these attempts were thwarted, Anand.
Right. So we'll try and put out those images of the L-70, Zu-23, and also the Shilka systems in the coming hour. But we've got more news. Akash, stay on. The Indian Army has now released a statement on what's happened on the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May. It reads, and I quote, Pakistan Armed Forces launched multiple attacks using drones and other munitions along the entire western border on the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May 2025. Pak troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and befitting reply was given to the ceasefire violations. So CFVs are ceasefire violations. Indian Army remains committed to safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation. All nefarious designs will be responded with force. So again, Akash, the tone is the same. Tone is maintained that we will respond. When I say we, the Indian Armed Forces and India as a nation will respond to the kinetic escalation in equal measure. What Pakistan Army attempts, Indian Army will first repulse that and then respond in equal measure.
Right, Anand, I want to stress on a very important point here, the Operation Sindoor. It is very much mentioned in the top of the particular tweet. And, it is somewhere a message that the operation still continues. You must be remembering the time where Rajnath Singh said that operation is not yet over. We had several sort of inputs that how Pakistan, is trying to retaliate and will retaliate. And that's the reason why we had, the air defense, in fact, the operational readiness was at all-time high. And now, Indian Army is coming out with an official tweet saying that how, in the western border and in fact, in Jammu and Kashmir, violations happened. And in fact, Pakistan tried to attack, Indian infrastructures using drones. And all of these drone attacks were effectively repulsed and a befitting reply was given on CFB. In fact, the ceasefire violation. So we have been, talking about it, Anand, that how in the entire Kashmir region and also in Jammu region, we know about Rajouri, Poonch, Samba, Mendhar, and in fact, Kathua as well, where, incidents happened. But then in Kashmir as well, we have these, ceasefire violations, artillery, in fact, coming to our side. Our villages are, impacted. And we have had a word with locals and they are saying the intensity is double and triple of what we saw yesterday and day before yesterday on the initial day when the Operation Sindoor was launched. So somewhere the frustration, but Pakistani army is unable to give a dent, and Indian armed forces are very much there with the air defense and all the capabilities. Anand.
Well, big shout out to our bravehearts, the defense forces, for what they've been able to do, and to all our viewers, barring the border regions and the LOC, especially along the line of control, Uri, we've lost another lady, an old lady. There are 2-3 people who are injured. There are people who are having to flee their homes because of this continuous pounding of the Pak artillery. This will last for a few days till the enemy is brought to its knees or brought to a crawl. But other than that, largely, we should trust our forces, trust our air defense systems, trust our mechanisms to be able to defend Bharatiya soil and Bharatiya sovereignty. Not a single missile or projectile has landed. That's a big success of the Indian Armed Forces. So let's salute them. Let's keep them in our prayers, and always remember our brave hearts are there to do the job. And Operation Sindoor continues till this war on terror is done. Till the terrorists are decimated, their backers, their Akas are decimated. Operation Sindoor continues. The message is very clear. It's an all-out offensive from the whole of government approach. There is a diplomatic offensive. There are non-kinetic offensives. Everything is being done to ensure that the Pak military establishment under General Asif Munir is taught a lesson that they will never forget. We'll take a short break and join you with more. The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So,
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only
हम ऑफिस गए होते हैं, हमारा ऑफिस बड़ी प्रॉब्लम में है, तो जब वहाँ से निकले तो एकदम से लाइट बंद हो गई, ब्लैकआउट हो गया सारा। तो उसके बाद ड्रोन वगैरह चढ़ना स्टार्ट हो गए, हमला वगैरह स्टार्ट हो गया। जैसे रास्ते में आए तो घर पे यहाँ भी सुना कि यहाँ भी हमले स्टार्ट हो गए और पूरी रात फायरिंग वगैरह चलती रही। सुबह तक यहाँ से जोर से गोलाबारी चलती रही। तो उसका हमारी जो डिफेंस है वो अच्छे से मुंहतोड़ जवाब दे रही है। तो हमें मोदी जी पे भी विश्वास है और अपनी डिफेंस पे भी विश्वास है। उन्होंने अपने ड्रोन वगैरह चढ़ाए हुए थे, तो हमारे जो एयरक्राफ्ट वगैरह हैं उन्होंने अपने एयर की मदद से वो सारे ड्रोन वगैरह डिफ्यूज कर दिए। एक्चुअली बॉर्डर वाली साइड है, बाकी एरिया सेफ है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि हाँ अफड़ा दफड़ी है।
Brought to you by
the general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
And also, since you understand and you are both of you well read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he's been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the
Pakistan started the conflict with its support for terrorism. Indians were the victim of terrorism. While I was initially critical that Prime Minister Modi had taken so long to respond, in hindsight, it's clear that the Indian military was carefully planning, and the Indian military has shown itself to be far more capable. Pakistan is thrashing about, looking for a way to save face. But Asim Munir should understand that the first rule of hole digging is when you're in a hole, stop digging. The fact of the matter now, looking forward, there can only be one metric by which we look at the diplomatic solution to this issue. Pakistan has to be designated by the United States to be a state sponsor of terror.
सस्ते वाले
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
And also, since you understand and you are both of you well read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he's been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the successes which Baloch Liberation Army has actually achieved.
That's why I said he's one of the most failed generals of Pakistan. One, the most popular leader was incarcerated. Wahi unpopular ho gaya. He didn't deserve to be army chief. He became army chief. He usurped somebody's position. Third, the Baloch have bajawed them. The Pakistani military, the Jafar Express is the biggest embarrassment. Usse pehle November last year also they had this when they took over an entire city for 3 days. Then the Afghans, they are upset with him. The Sindhi, the Cholistan project has rendered him very, very unpopular again. That's his pet project, and he's accused of perhaps even siphoning of billions from that, making money off it. And now currently with what he's inflicted upon Pakistan. So, and 3 nights of reversals. एक तो आपने कहा हम तैयार है, आ जाओ, कोशिश करो, हमने 9 जगह ठोक दिया उनको, सारे टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ध्वस्त कर दिए. देन बोला हम आएंगे, जवाबी कार्रवाई करेंगे, सब फेल हो गए. फिर हमने उनके ADSs को we've demolished in Pindi, in Lahore, in Karachi, in Sialkot. Then last night they tried again, and nothing has worked there. Nothing has worked, and we've countered there, and there is a huge amount of pummeling. We are waiting for the official briefing, but we are given to understand Pakistan has suffered huge reversals last night in the retaliation from Bharat based on the equal measure retaliation. उन्होंने 15 लोकेशन चूज किए हैं, हमने भी 15 लोकेशन में उनको काफी मारा है. They are not coming out and saying it, but we will claim, and perhaps there will be a briefing today for more details on what's happened last night. But right now, some more news coming through before we go back to General Kocher. We are learning from defense sources. At least 45 drones were taken down by the Army Air Defense itself. And this is between Ladakh to Bhuj. So military infrastructure in Leh was also targeted last night by Pakistan. No success from the length and breadth of such a long geographical space they've tried to cover. Akash joining us with more. Yes, Akash.
Anand, first of all, it is largely peaceful in the morning hours, so no need to panic. It is for the general public.
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So,
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he...
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome. Thank you for staying with us and our continuing and rolling coverage here on Operation Sindoor. Yes, Operation Sindoor continues post the Pahalgam massacre. Bharat declared a war on terror. The promise, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, was to identify, track, punish, and Bharat continues to work on that line. And very clearly, what's been exposed between the 7th and the 9th of May is that the Pakistan military, the Pakistan state is openly backing jihadis and terror tanzeems. So Pakistan is a terror state. Terror state Pakistan is the hyphenation that Bharat is now going to draw on the international fora diplomatically and offensive very clearly, and using that given the fact that Pakistan military personnel were present at the funeral of jihadis, and Pakistan military has responded to what Bharat very clearly said was a non-escalatory counter-terror move, is evidence that Bharat is going to use to the world to also push for putting Pakistan back into the FATF grey list. But there is another war that we will start this morning, Friday, 8 a.m. with the info war, the disinformation war, which Bharat is now very actively working. The Press Information Bureau is working really fast to try and counter all the falsitudes being peddled, the canards, the lies being peddled by Pakistani-backed social media handles. The first question, the first claim, the lie that Pakistan has destroyed a brigade, Indian brigade headquarters, that was immediately quelled. The claim that the brigade headquarters have been attacked by Pakistan is fake. This whole thing was unleashed and said that there is no brigade headquarters. This footage is an old one. This is a dated footage which belongs to somewhere else, some other entity altogether, and it was countered by the PIB immediately. The second lie was that Pakistan has attacked an Indian airbase in Srinagar. Now, this was the video shared by several pro-Pakistan handles. It was falsely claimed that Pakistan Air Force has targeted the Srinagar airbase. And this has been fact-checked again, that there is nothing that happened at the Srinagar airbase. These were all pictures, dated videos more than a year and a half ago, some even more than 5 years ago, which are being used by the Pakistanis. Is old, is not from India. The video is from sectarian clashes that took place in 2024 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. The third lie, that Pakistan shot down a Rafale jet near Bahawalpur. This is an old image showing a crashed aircraft that was being circulated with the claim that Pakistan recently shot down an Indian Rafale jet near Bahawalpur during the ongoing Operation Sindoor. In fact, the PIB fact check is that this image is from an earlier incident involving a MiG-21 fighter jet that crashed in Moga in Punjab in 2021. So this is an old one. The other thing, lie number 4, Pakistan shot down Indian fighter jets. This has also been caught out. These are old videos, dated videos from 2021, 2022, 2023. Different time zones. They picked up random images which has got nothing to do, and these are not even Indian aircraft. The Indian Army raised a white flag to recover remains of soldiers. This is another lie that has been shot down. Lie number 5. Army raised a white flag to recover remains of soldiers. This is again fake. This is not true. This was in fact the Pakistanis who had done it a few years ago, and that was being those pictures were being used. Lie number 6. A military base in Amritsar has been struck. A social media post notoriously claimed that Indian military base used the Ambala air base to attack Amritsar and its own citizens. This is what was claimed. PIB found the claim to be completely baseless and part of a concerted misinformation campaign, and in response, PIB provided a detailed press release of the Ministry of Defense and exposed the real picture. This was very dangerous. It was nefarious, and we will talk about line number 6 in detail in a bit. But let's go to line number 7. Indian drone intercepted in Pakistan. Now, this is also in Gujranwala that a drone was intercepted. And these pictures, this is not even a Indian drone. So these are all fake pictures, and the PIB calling this out. Did we hit Gujranwala? Yes. Did our drones land at the Gujranwala airbase? Yes. But did they neutralize the drone? No, that's not the case. That's not happened. Let's take you through the headlines at the top of this hour at 8 o'clock. We've tried to put out what all are the disinformation that has been quelled by the PIB. But here are the headlines of the developments so far in Operation Sindoor and this face-off with Pakistan. Ministry of External Affairs is set to do another brief today. This is the third press briefing by the government within 3 days as tensions escalate between India and Pakistan. The government is assessing the situation at present and is currently monitoring the situation. What time will the press briefing be has not yet been outlined. We should know in a couple of hours. Headline number 2, in the aftermath of The Pakistan unprovoked firing, attempt at attacking military installations. There is also cross-border firing and ceasefire violations. Residents of Jammu and Kashmir border areas continue to struggle. In the latest development, shelling and gunfire is still taking place at Uri. The situation continues to remain tense, even as the Indian armed forces are responding in equal or if not far greater levels. But we have lost another civilian, an old lady, and about 3 people are injured in Uri. Pakistan has now violated ceasefire in Jammu and Kashmir's Kupwara. Fresh visuals show Pakistan targeted civilian areas. So their treachery, their cowardice continues. Indian Army has released a statement on what's happened on Thursday night. The statement says that Pakistan armed forces launched multiple attacks using drones and other munitions along the entire western border on the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May. Pak troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and befitting reply was given to the CFVs. CFVs is ceasefire violations. Also, an important meeting regarding India's renewed push for Pakistan's FATF grey listing at the IMF meeting to be held at the Finance Ministry today at 9:30 a.m. So just in about an hour from now, hour and a half from now, that all-important meeting where Bharat will make a solid case, strong case for Pakistan to be pushed back into the FATF grey list. The United States Vice President J.D. Vance has conveyed a message to Pakistan. Vance has said that India-Pak tussle is not the business of the United States, a huge shift in posture. But he's further added that de-escalation was the need of the hour. He said that the US will not get involved in the middle of a war. A very significant shift in strategic posture vis-a-vis Pakistan for the United States. Jammu and Kashmir LG Manoj Sinha will be visiting Uri to take stock of the situation that has arisen due to heavy shelling from the Pakistani side. This even as Chief Minister Omar Abdullah is moving towards the Jammu region to take stock of what's happened overnight in Jammu city. Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Vice Chief of the Air Staff, the Indian Air Force, is with us. Edward P. Joseph, faculty of the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies, is also with us. And we have Manmohan Bahadurji, also defense expert, with us. My namaste. Good morning to everyone. Thank you very, very much. My first question to you, Air Marshal, the defense systems, the counter and how all the attempts across the western border and the line of control by the Pakistan military has been foiled. This is a significant level up for Bharat in its capabilities.
Which Air Marshal are you asking?
Air Marshal Anil Khosla ji.
Okay. Well, there are two Air Marshals, so
My apologies. My apologies.
Yeah. Yeah, so your question is related to technology and how it's been utilized. Obviously, the Indian Air Force has acquired quite a few capabilities, especially in the last 1 decade. And these capabilities have given them a lot of operational flexibility and security. So in this case also, if you see, all the capabilities which has been acquired in the last decade or so have been used very, very effectively, and especially in safeguarding our interests, and all the offensive actions by the Pakistan military have been foiled and successfully, and there's no damage reported on the ground as such. I think that is frustrating the Pakistan military even more and more.
But Edward Joseph, if I may ask you, US's position, how would you reflect on the US position this time? Is it a significant shift in the strategic position of the US vis-a-vis Pakistan and India?
First of all, very good to be with you and your guests and, of course, your viewers at this very unsettled and dangerous time. The answer to the question is, I don't know that we could call this a shift. I don't know that there was really a pronounced U.S. position. President Trump reacted first in the administration, of course, and he is the president, and his voice is the one that matters and matters the most. And he reacted with concern, and I think that concern remains in the Trump administration, regardless of who is at the moment, whether it's first it was Secretary of State Rubio following President Trump, and then, as you just quoted, Vice President Vance. There's a call there, and even Vance, I believe, as you quoted, echoed it. The United States wants to see de-escalation. No one wants to see two nuclear powers escalate a very dangerous confrontation, and no one wants to see more loss
my question
of life.
was compared to the past. Previous US governments and establishments have had an investment in Pakistan, and there has been a different posture that has been adopted when the two nations have been in conflict. Compared to that, the current Trump administration and the current position, does that not signal a shift?
I understand your question. It's a very fair question. I would say this: the United States has a very strong investment in India. And I think this was made abundantly clear in the previous administration, in the Biden administration, the state visit of Prime Minister Modi. And I think that continues in the Trump administration. The United States sees India as a very significant, a major international power. And the US has keen interests in Pakistan as well, although I would say less so because our troops are out of Afghanistan, and we no longer have that big operation, civilian operation in Afghanistan. And ironically, let me close here and say this, is that we see that Pakistan, ironically, has suffered major increase in terrorist attacks within Pakistan over 2024, almost a doubling, or I should say about a 50% increase. And the attacks are coming from Afghanistan. Whereas before, when the United States and its troops and its allies were in Afghanistan, the attacks were based from Taliban in Pakistan. But now Pakistan has suffered its own terrorist attacks, quite significant increase, that are believed to be sourced in Afghanistan. But for the United States, again, India remains an extremely important international partner for
if that's the
United
case,
States of America.
let's hope the Americans take cognizance of a US proscribed terrorist and Hafiz Abdul Rauf leading the funeral prayers for the jihadis who were neutralized by during Operation Sindoor, and with a whole posse of Pakistan military standing there right behind them to be led by a US proscribed terrorist. That picture says it all, Air Marshal Bahadur. And should not Bharat escalate that very picture to the world and say, now tell me what you want to do? This is for whom the Pakistan military stands for.
That's right. First, thank you for getting me on your program. You see, it's like this. There is a lot of verbal exchanges that will continue to happen from the leadership of the Western powers. We cannot and should not depend on the posture shift of any country. We are on our own feet because this is our war. Having said that, it's important that we have the international opinion with us. But the international opinion changes with the strategic outlook of a country. The Americans, as the previous speaker said, have got a lot of investment with India, and we are good friends. But I think it would be wrong to say that the Americans have sort of pulled out or reduced their interaction with the Pakistanis. Please do remember, just I think 3-4 days back, it was President Trump who said, "I'm friendly with both countries. I'm friends with both the leadership." While we carry on with our diplomatic effort and showing the world what exactly the perfidy is happening on the other side, we need to be on guard to say to ensure that our interests are not affected.
True, but
that said, yeah, go ahead.
Please complete.
Yeah, that said, I think we are on a strong footing with the Americans. Let's be clear on that, as also with other Western powers. But it's our war, and we'll fight it.
The battle is Bharat's to fight. Nobody is going to fight the battle for us as a nation. We as a nation have to stand up and we have to underline our position. But Air Marshal Khosla, in the past, there has been this entire jihadi aspect of Pakistan has been, Pakistan is a failed state. That assumption has been made by nations. They have looked the other way when they've openly backed these jihadis and these terror tanzeems. This time around, can Bharat make can hyphenate Pakistan as a terror state? Is that possible? There's a reason why I ask you this. Please pause. We've just got another video. This is far more devious, and this is how devious the Pakistanis can turn out to be. There's a larger angle to what is happening around Amritsar. There's a video of Pakistan shelling that has emerged in and around Amritsar. This is from near Amritsar. This is shelling by the Pakistanis. Akash is joining us with more. Akash, this video is the fact. And there were Pakistani handles, there were Khalistani handles. They were trying to push a thought process or a theory that India itself will choreograph an attack on the Golden Temple in Amritsar.
Yes, the narrative is going on since yesterday, Anand, and this video is somewhere showing that how, the air defense systems, in fact, the AD guns that have played a major role, in fact, were in play. You can see the targets being logged and then destroyed. And, the similar pictures were there available on the internet from Israel, Gaza, and Russia, Ukraine. You must be remembering, Anand. And this time we are seeing it here in India, and it is all because of Pakistan. They, in fact, tried to disturb the peace and harmony initially in Jammu and Kashmir. And then when, Indian forces, in fact, carried out the sort of strikes that were very much required because of the terrorists present on their soil, now they are, doing all these things where they are targeting the civilian population in some cases, and then the military infrastructure and other establishment. This video is, of course, from area near Amritsar. And, there were theories that how they want to create a religious divide, Anand, because, there are some sort of theories floating, related to Sikh soldiers and, other soldiers. We have in Indian Army, we have soldiers from different communities, and all of them live together. And this is one fact. And this is the reason why, in fact, they are, trying some locations in Punjab. This one in Amritsar, where, air defense is successfully destroying all the drones that are coming towards Amritsar.
No, I'm just going to see. It's early morning, Akash. Thank you for your thoughts. I'm going to see if we can get Tushar Gupta of Swarajya or Abhijit Iyer Mitra on the phone line, or can they get them to join us live? But because Air Marshal Khosla, yesterday, there was this tweet at 2:13 a.m. India time. There is a tweet that's posted by a known Khalistani sympathizer who says, "Attention Sikhs, brace yourselves. India might target a Sikh Punjab city with missiles and pin the blame on Pakistan." And soon after, there are missiles that are flying over Amritsar, which have been neutralized by our air defense systems. Look how devious these Pakistanis can get, that they wanted to attack perhaps the religious, symbol of Amritsar, the Golden Temple, Harmandir Sahib, and then turn it around and say, oh, see, India has used this opportunity to down a Gurdwara and fuel yet another disinformation campaign. It was in Punch that a Gurdwara was targeted and Panthis were targeted by the Pakistanis. On the same day, they were attempting this, Air Marshal Khosla. How devious can they get?
Yeah, so this information warfare and the hybrid warfare is the talk of the day. I mean, any conflict, these are used effectively by both all the conflicting sides. And Pakistan is known for doing, information warfare. Only thing is they don't know how to do it intelligently. There's so many examples in the previous, even in Balakot, even now also, the top ministers, going on TV and making some statements and, a few hours later retracting on them and, making stupid statements and, pardon my using that word, but I mean, you say, when you do something, you need intelligence to do it also. Even if you're cheating, you need to do it intelligently so that you don't get caught. So in my mind, they're doing it in such a way that people can look through it. And also, in this digital era, the digital disinformation, misinformation, which you mentioned above, spreads very fast and very easy in these, but the gullible people, they get, carried away with it. With this AI coming in, you don't know whether the videos circulating are fake or real, but the technology is available and people needs to be educated. But your previous question got left out on the hyphenation of Pakistan. That's
as a terrorist state.
I mean, the world has seen in the last few decades, there is no reason for hyphenating Pakistan with terror again. I mean, there's so many examples. Osama bin Laden was found there. The lies which Pakistan churns at dozen by every minute, and also supporting terror. The picture which you showed, you're giving straight funeral to with the Pakistan flag onto their coffins. You're giving straight funeral to the terrorists. What else hyphenation do you want? I mean, and this time they have crossed a big red line as far as India is concerned. And the Indian sentiments are very strong at the moment that we have had it. Enough is enough. But still we are showing restraint. Still we are giving you a window of opportunity, but you're not taking it. If you want to escalate, so be it.
Air Marshal, I want to ask you, Air Marshal Khosla and then Air Marshal Bahadur, and also Edward, please weigh in on this. Should Bharat diplomatically start hyphenating Pakistan as a terrorist state? Should Bharat now openly start calling Pakistan a terrorist state Pakistan, especially after these pictures, when you have jihadis being given the state flag, the national flag, a state funeral? Then you're calling them mujahids or official soldiers of the country. Air Marshal Khosla, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've been doing this, what you're asking us to do, that, hyphenating with the terrorist and calling it a terrorist state. I think we should up the ante and, make it very clear in all our writings, in all our saying, in all our diplomatic engagements. And whenever we take the name as Pakistan, we should always add to it, like what you're saying is a terrorist state Pakistan.
Air Marshal Bahadur, because Vikram Doraiswamy picked up the picture. The UK, India envoy to the UK. In that interview, he's picked up the picture and he showed it. Vikram Misriji showed it. They didn't name Hafiz Abdul Rauf, but everybody knows who he is. The pictures speak for themselves. These are released officially by the Pakistan media, the Pakistan state, and the Indian state is showing it. And he is a US proscribed terrorist, a Lashkar operative.
That's correct. And I think we have done our bit with our foreign secretary himself showing that picture. And every time there has been a chance, we have done that in the United Nations also, and brought up the relationship between the Pakistani establishment and the terrorist establishments that they are nurturing. So this has been conveyed in no uncertain terms, and that will continue to be conveyed in no uncertain terms at all international fora, because this is a fact of life. And when you speak to people off camera, they do accept that. But please do remember, in the world of real politics, things become different. I mean, we have been hearing of Pakistan failed state, its collapsing economy will go for the last 40 years. I have retired. But Pakistan has not collapsed. And let me tell you, it will not collapse. We will continue to have a problem on our western frontier.
No,
because
but there is a different option and a perspective now. Like Edward said, US is no more invested in Afghanistan. Pakistan thrived because of the US interest in Afghanistan, the Chinese interest in Afghanistan, and of course the Russia factor. And this is how the Americans got involved in this. Now with the exit of the American troops out of Afghanistan, there is another option, which is Balochistan. Then 48% of current day Pakistan is Balochistan. Balochistan is an occupied territory. There have been immense amount of war crimes by the Pakistan military in Balochistan. Human rights violations in Balochistan. The Baloch are already organized. They don't even want the Indian support. They just want the globe to recognize them as an entity and as a nation which has the right to self-governance. That's what they are doing. Bharat has nothing to do. We don't share borders with Balochistan. We've got no interest there. Strategically also doesn't matter. But the Americans and the Chinese have interests, Edward.
That's correct. That's what I'm trying to. That's exactly what I'm. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That other countries around will not permit that state called Pakistan to collapse. So, point is, our policies and our decisions need to take that into account. That's all.
But Edward, a possibility, the Baloch seem to be organizing themselves. If there is a clear leadership, if either China or America move in at a time and say, we will organize. If you look at Balochistan as a spread, it gives them the cushion that they want, strategic cushion, because of which Pakistan in the way got shape under the British rule in 47. There is a geopolitical thought process there, but things have shifted, dynamics have shifted.
Yes, if the question is directed to me.
Yes.
With respect to Balochistan, I think that there's an irony here in the sense that there are reports that, for example, that Iran is potentially one of the countries that is apparently considered as a mediator here. And we had just last year, January of 2024, we had an exchange of strikes, air strikes, military strikes between Iran and Pakistan, in which there was suspected terrorism from Balochistan, and Iran initiated with strikes against Pakistan into Pakistani territory, and Pakistan retaliated into Iran. And so if there's concern there about India attacking within Pakistan, well, you have a precedent on both sides. You have a precedent of Iran going into Pakistan territory, and you have Pakistan doing an attack into Iranian territory. So no one should say, well, something that India has done is completely unprecedented, because, of course, it's not. So on that aspect, that's the interesting facet of the Balochistan story. But the main point here that I can share to you and your esteemed guests here, the air marshals and your viewers, is no one in India should for a moment doubt the respect and the importance with which the United States holds India. And let me emphasize that is, if you look at the United States, put yourself in our shoes and the perspective of the Trump administration and the Biden administration before it, what was their number one concern in the world globally? It's China. And India figures as an extremely important partner on the question of China, of U.S. policy towards what is perceived as a growing threat and a rival. And it's India, which is a member of the Quad, of that important grouping with the United States, with Japan and Australia. That's a very important, very elite club that is attached to the number one strategic concern of the United States. So at this moment of high tension, I think in Delhi and across India, citizens should take reassurance that no one in Washington doubts for a moment.
We've spoken about the US. We've spoken about the US. We'll talk about China. This is the big elephant in the room that we should all acknowledge. And there is a lot strategically also that the Chinese would have used to their advantage, given had this escalation gone to the levels where perhaps the Chinese thought the Pakistanis were capable, or General Asim Munir was capable of taking it too. We'll talk about that dimension. Just have news coming through. Let's just go across to that quickly. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah, Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, is also likely to visit Poonch and Rajouri too. En route Jammu, he may also go to Poonch and Rajouri to take stock of the situation that's arisen due to the continued Pak shelling. Ishan Wani with us. So Omar Abdullah is on the road and he's on the move, even as the LG heads towards Uri. Omar Abdullah heading downwards into the Jammu region. Poonch, Rajouri also going to be covered.
Well, absolutely right. The civilian lives are a priority to save, particularly in those areas where there have been maximum shelling of the civilian population. Look, what we're given to understand is that in Poonch, where the shelling had taken place, around 70% of the people and the population living there has already moved out. And some of them are still living there, but to take stock of the situation, to see that how hospitals are running, how things are on the ground, and how things can turn more ugly, how the response of the state administration will be. And that's what one would like to see. That's why he's rushing into Jammu, where he will chair a meeting and then also head towards these areas. We are also given to understand that Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha will likely visit, Uri to take stock of the situation. And he is also in charge of the law and order and paramilitary in Kashmir. So that is where his role also gets important, key in those areas where ceasefire violation has taken place. So we believe that in a couple of hours from now, you'll see images flashing in from both Rajouri, Poonch, Jammu, and also from Uri, where all of these, top officials are there. But during even the night time, we can assure you that every person in the administration was awake, was taking calls, and was gearing up for anything that could have happened during this
Well,
night.
we're talking about Uri. LG Manoj Sinha is going to go. The locals are saying they don't have enough bunkers there. Mudassar Kazri of News 18 was on ground, and people were actually fleeing their homes, leaving their homes to perhaps a little deeper into the main parts of Jammu and Kashmir, closer to where their relatives were, because all through the night they've not been able to get even a wink of sleep because there's been continuous shelling and also counters or the response from the Indian side. Pakistan's been resorting to heavy shelling in Uri. Uri is similar to Tangdar. Uri, where the Pakistanis sit at a height, and the Indian side is towards the valley area or the lower reaches. Tangdar is also like a bowl, surrounded from three sides. But Uri is also similar. There has been fresh shelling on the civilian areas in Uri. Clearly, our forces are responding in equal measure, but the civilians are now stuck in the crossfire. Yes, Ishan.
Well, absolutely right. They're stuck in ceasefire, the fire that is coming in from Pakistan. Many of the families have been moved to safer locations, and particularly locations which are underground, but there aren't adequate bunkers. Look, in 2020, when the ceasefire between both the countries were adhered to by both of the militaries, and the DGMO spoke, that's when India got a crucial time to build bunkers, but not adequate. A lot of people are struggling to stay there because of the lack of mobility inside. So how long can you survive there when there is shelling happening outside? Then people also panic. They have children, they have cattle to take care of. So there are a lot of problems that these border villages face. But the government is trying to ensure that all of the help is provided to them. There's a whole of the government approach to ensure that the civilians are kept out of the harm's way. And we are given to understand that all those areas where there's a possibility of further escalation, people will be taken out of those areas. And civilians face the first brunt. But let me tell you, yesterday I spoke to several people. They are saying that take out our children and take them to safer place. And women, we are ready to fight. So we're ready to join the Indian Army if there is any aggression that takes place further, because they have lost their loved ones. They have also suffered heavily in the terms of infrastructure on these border areas.
Right.
Look, Tangdar, Keran, every place has been lit throughout the night. There are massive shelling that has taken place, but Indian Army has responded befittingly at every place wherever the ceasefire violation has taken place.
Yes, as much as these pictures, visuals of damage to locals, poor people largely living in, look at this, tin sheds, and these are all some of the impoverished areas along the line of control, largely hand-to-mouth existence. They are also contract farmers working on the fields as labor, etc. These are the people whose lives have been disrupted by incessant Pakistani shelling into the civilian areas. But be rest assured, viewers, our forces are responding in far greater measure, and the damage on the other side, especially to the Pakistan military, is huge. There is a lot of cost that the Pakistan military will have to bear for inflicting this pain upon our civilians and our people. And that's the assurance. I'm going to request our guest to please stay on with us. We're compelled to take a short break. It's 8:32 on the clock. In just about an hour is that all-important meeting where the non-kinetic offensive will start taking shape of trying to push Pakistan back into the FATF grey list. We'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about the China factor when we come back. Stay with us.
नाही सर हम
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
And also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So,
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he has been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the successes which Baloch Liberation Army has actually achieved.
That's why I said he's one of the most failed generals of Pakistan. One, the most popular leader was incarcerated. Wahi unpopular ho gaya. He didn't deserve to be army chief. He became army chief. He usurped somebody's position. Third, the Baloch have bajawed them. The Pakistani military, the Jafar Express is the biggest embarrassment. Usse pehle November last year also they had this when they took over an entire city for 3 days. Then the Afghans, they are upset with him. The Sindhi, the Cholistan project has rendered him very, very unpopular again. That's his pet project, and he's accused of perhaps even siphoning off billions from that, making money off it. And now currently with what he's inflicted upon Pakistan. So, and 3 nights of reversals. एक तो आपने कहा हम तैयार है, आ जाओ, कोशिश करो, हमने 9 जगह ठोक दिया उनको, सारे टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ध्वस्त कर दिए. देन बोला हम आएंगे, जवाबी कार्रवाई करेंगे, सब फेल हो गए. फिर हमने उनके ADSs को we've demolished in Pindi, in Lahore, in Karachi, in Sialkot. Then last night they tried again, and nothing has worked there. Nothing has worked, and we've countered there, and there is a huge amount of pummeling. We are waiting for the official briefing, but we are given to understand Pakistan has suffered huge reversals last night in the retaliation from Bharat based on the equal measure retaliation. उन्होंने 15 लोकेशन चूज किए हैं, हमने भी 15 लोकेशन में उनको काफी मारा है. They are not coming out and saying it, but we will claim, and perhaps there will be a briefing today for more details on what's happened last night. But right now, some more news coming through before we go back to General Kocher. We are learning from defense sources. At least 45 drones were taken down by the Army Air Defense itself. And this is between Ladakh to Bhuj. So military infrastructure in Leh was also targeted last night by Pakistan. No success from the length and breadth of such a long area, geographical space they've tried to cover. Akash joining us with more. Yes, Akash.
Anand, first of all, it is largely peaceful in the morning hours, so no need to panic. It is for the general public.
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So, is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to
Thank you for staying with us. Continuous coverage here, live and rolling on Operation Sindoor, which is still not over. Still not over. Till the time this war on terror is won, till the time all terror emanating from Pakistan is finished, Bharat is not going to rest. And till the time General Asim Munir and his ilk don't learn a lesson, Pakistan will be tormented, troubled, and brought to book and brought to account for all that they have inflicted upon us via this proxy war. The fact that the Pakistan state officially backs its terror tanzeems and uses them as their own instruments of a proxy warfare with the intent to bleed Bharat with 1,000 cuts is demonstrated in that one picture. It's not for nothing they say that pictures speak 1,000 words. A proscribed, US proscribed terrorist of the Lashkar-e-Taiba leading the funeral prayers for jihadis who are getting a state funeral attended by politicians and also military. That picture is enough to show that Pakistan is a terror state. Will Bharat officially start hyphenating Pakistan as a terror state? Till the time Pakistan withdraws all actions of terror against Bharat, that's the big question. And perhaps that offensive will continue till then. We've got our guests with us. Air Marshal Anil Khosla is with us. We've got Air Marshal Manmohan Bahadur and also Edward Joseph with us. Thank you for staying on. The question on China. The one entity that will be watching what's going on and will also take note of 3 successive nights of reversals for the Pakistan military, Air Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, is China. When will they let go of the Pakistan military and the Pakistan military establishment and say, you're on your own? Has that time come now? Because their HQ-9s have also failed. Their J-17s have also failed. So in military parlance and on the military complex, industrial complex, Chinese equipment is not performing against French, Russian and American equipment. Sir, please.
A professional answer to that is the Chinese will not let go of Pakistan. That's for sure. And because the investment in Pakistan, besides the CPEC, is an adversary on our western border. Imagine if Pakistan was friendly with India, then you don't have to worry about one full border on your western border. So it's a leverage that they have, the Chinese have. Besides, as I said, the huge amount of investment in CPEC and Gwadar port that they have done. So I don't think the Chinese will ever let go. I mean, we are children of the 60s and we have seen them from 1960s. Pakistan has been their friend since then, and I see no reason why they will let go. We have to take this into account in all our plans. So despite what the media says, the fact remains that there is an existential type of threat to us on our western border, which will not go away. That's a fact. Okay, so we need to plan for that, and we will continue to plan for that. It's much more because when you talk of diplomacy, if it's India in Quad against sort of the United States, well, it's China having its own proxies also opposing the Quad. So this is a game that 2 sides play, which is factored in by the political establishment as well as the diplomatic establishment. They do their jobs. We as people in uniform do ours and follow orders.
But Air Marshal Khosla, the changing scenarios, 200 billion plus sunk in this BRI and CPEC going nowhere for the last 3-4 years. The Gwadar port actually in Balochistan, not Pakistan. These are all considerations the Chinese can have, and also their own issues, internal issues, real estate collapse, manufacturing, stops there, huge pileups for the Chinese, internal troubles, and of course this entire tariff war with the Trump administration that's hurting the Chinese. Everybody is looking at China +1. So there are other dynamics too. Things are different from where they were in the 90s and 2000s to when they are after post-2020s and especially post-COVID, Marshal Khosla. So do these shifting dynamics, shifting sands also help Bharat somewhere, or do they force China's hands?
Definitely, what you brought out is China is having its own problems, its own troubles. I mean, China's troubles and China's stature and China's economic development as well as military power, I think he'll be able to deal with them much better as compared to Pakistan. The Pakistan problems which they have, and they don't have any backup to deal with those situations economically, militarily, or diplomatically. They're totally isolated. China, to my mind, has got still a lot of power left with him, and he'll be able to come out of it and maybe still continue growing for some time to come, unless the world really imposes a lot of restrictions on it. Now, coming to the event which is happening and the Chinese-Pak they call the friendship deeper than the sea and sweeter than the honey and whatnot. It's a marriage of convenience, actually. And you brought out that China, will be watching this. Absolutely. China will be watching very, very closely. And China, most of the military equipment is Chinese. And they'll be watching what is the performance of their equipment as compared to the Western and other equipment. They will be giving covert or overt support to Pakistan as usual, diplomatic support. They have already been giving. So China's involvement in this, but the Chinese are smart. They will not get actively involved in the process, but in the background, they will be having a big, big role in the whole event.
Edward, your thoughts on the China factor?
On that, I would say I heard nothing from the previous speaker here that I think anyone would dispute. There was a very reasonable assessment of the role of the Chinese, and we should, when we consider Chinese interests and American interests, and obviously the Indian and Pakistani interests here, we should remember that China has its own terrorism concerns and its own terrorism problems. So China has to also weigh that in here. And what I pointed out here before, and soon, if you'll permit me, sir, I'm going to wish you all a good night. It's nighttime here in the United States. But what I mentioned before, that ironically here, Pakistan is a very significant victim of terrorism. They're having a dramatic increase in over 2024, over 1,000 fatalities in Pakistan from terrorism. This is an increase of almost 50% from the year before. So, and this is a very serious and dangerous problem. We, of course, experience this in the United States. We see this elsewhere in the world, that this phenomenon, it's extremely dangerous. And of course, this conflict is extremely dangerous with both countries having nuclear weapons. And I would just say this here, a couple points here in closing, that if either side were to deploy nuclear weapons, this would just be absolutely a dramatic shift. And in my view, a severe mistake. And we've seen that in the Russia-Ukraine context, and we've seen so far, thankfully, reluctance on the part of Russia to utilize nuclear weapons, and it would just be a dramatic, severe change in dynamics for either country to be the first one to introduce nuclear weapons. And finally, I just close to not we understand. India, as I said, remains extremely important in American eyes. That doesn't mean, of course, that U.S. has no interest in Pakistan. The U.S. has interests in maintaining a good and open relationship with Pakistan. The point that Vance was making, this is very important to understand. The point that Vice President Vance was making is not that the U.S. has no interest in this. He repeated it. He repeated very clearly what President Trump had said and what Secretary Rubio said, that the U.S. wants to see de-escalation. Vice President Vance repeated that. It's that what Vance said, the U.S. is not rushing to jump into the middle of this as to intervene in some fashion. I would imagine, though, if the situation were such, or if Delhi or Islamabad sought U.S. mediation, that I believe it would be forthcoming. I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and have a good night's sleep. Be rest assured, Bharat is never going to get into the nuclear option. Bharat has huge amount of responsibility, and it enshrines, nuclear deterrence is enshrined in its entire doctrine. So that's not the problem. The entity you cannot trust is that crazy general on the other side. So that's where the problem lies. Thank you very much, Edward. Good night. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Air Marshals, I thank you too for your time. Yes, sir. Air Marshal Mamnoon Bahadur, you wanted to make a point. Yes, please.
I was about to say that I too need to leave.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you very much. I thank our guests. Let's go across to news coming through and let's pick up the pace. Before we read out the news, just an update coming in from the MEA. There is no briefing at 10 a.m. If viewers are getting it from other platforms who are sending that's not happening, there's no meeting at 10 a.m. There is a press briefing. When it will be, you will hear it first at CNN News 18, the correct time. That's all we can tell you, but there is a briefing scheduled for today. Now, more news. The Pharma Doctors Association has asked medical services to be on standby and hold blood donation camps. Yesha Kotak is joining us with more details. Yes, Yesha.
Absolutely, Anand. In fact, all the doctors who are part of the Federation of All India Medical Association have been given instructions about being prepared for any kind of an emergency and be responsive in case of a disaster. In fact, apart from that, they've also been asked to have a coordinated system in place with local authorities. This instruction has been given for doctors across the entire country. Apart from that, like you mentioned, they've also been asked to organize nationwide blood donation camps, particularly in the wake of this escalating border tension. This is because, of course, we've seen that there have been several injuries which have been reported from Jammu and Kashmir so far, which is when it comes to summer months, it is mostly associations which face the crunch of having excess blood in their banks, and which is why now blood donation camps have also been asked to be organized across the entire country, so as to be prepared in case of any eventuality. But apart from that, we've also seen how the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has also postponed the examination for CA, which was to be held on 9th and 14th of May. Yes.
So that's what they have done is that the examinations, the intermediate and post qualification course examinations, International Taxation Assessment Test INTT-AT, May 2025 from 9th to 14th of May stand postponed. The revised dates will be announced in due course. This is from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as Yesha was just mentioning. The pharma doctors have now come out and said that we would like to run blood donation camps. Anybody and everybody in that area, in that region, if you're able and if you can, please go ahead and donate blood. We will require it at some point in time. There are already many who are facing grievous injuries and also some who have minor injuries. There will be others who will be ailing. It will always help if you can step up and donate blood, especially along the areas on the western border and along the line of control. We'll also try and see if we can get you. Yesha, thank you for your inputs. We'll try and get you. There is the other non-kinetic offensive, waters. So the tap was off all this while. Now some taps are going on. The Bagliar Dam gates, sluice gates are opening. We'll get you those visuals when we come back after a break. Stay with us.
उस फिल्म में
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well-read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So,
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. the fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he has been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slight.
ये उड़ी सेक्टर की तस्वीरें हैं और लगातार हमने रात भर विटनेस किया। यहाँ पे हम भी एक आई विटनेस अकाउंट अगर शेयर करेंगे आपके साथ, तो रात जो गुजरी है काफी भयानक थी, काफी खौफजदा यहाँ के लोग हैं, काफी दहशत फैला हुआ है लोगों में। और ये पाकिस्तान की सीज फायर वायलेशन का नतीजा है जो आप विजुअल्स में देख रहे हैं। और लगातार जो हाजीपीर सेक्टर है या फिर सलामाबाद उड़ी सेक्टर है, तो वहां से 3 तरफा से पाकिस्तान ने आर्टिलरी शेलिंग की। यहाँ तक ये भी कहा जा रहा है सोर्सेज की स्निपर्स को भी यूज किया गया, और जिसके नतीजे में जो कल तक ये लगामा गांव जहां पर हम मौजूद है, ये हंसता खेलता गांव हमें कल तक नजर आ रहा था, लेकिन इस वक्त रातों रात ये तबाही का मंजर जो है बयान कर रहा है। और ये दुकानें हैं, ये मकान है जो डैमेज हो चुके हैं, और आप देख सकते हैं कि किस कदर शेलिंग भयानक थी। और इन तस्वीरों से अंदाजा लगाया जा सकता है, ये टीन जो है, टीन के जो रूफ शीट्स है, टीन शीट्स, और देख सकते हैं आप कि किस तरह की हालत हुई है और किस तरह से शेलिंग जो है इसकी शिद्दत क्या थी। और यहाँ के लोगों की अगर बात करेंगे तो उनसे हमारी बात हुई लगातार, तो उनका ये कहना है कि 1998 में जो सीज फायर वायलेशंस हुआ करती थी उसकी वजह से लोग जो है काफी परेशान थे, और वो आज तक यहाँ के लोग नहीं भूले हैं। लेकिन आज जो शेलिंग हुई है, आज जो आर्टिलरी फायरिंग की गई है पाकिस्तान की तरफ से, 1998 का भी रिकॉर्ड जो है वो टूट गया है। और लगातार हम देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह ग्राउंड सिचुएशन जो है, किस तरह तबाही के मनाजिर जो है वो बयान कर रहे हैं, और इसकी वजह से काफी लोग जो है वो जख्मी हुए हैं। सलामाबाद की बात करेंगे, कालगी की बात करेंगे, या लगामा एरिया जहां पर हम मौजूद है इसकी बात करेंगे, तो यहाँ पर एक जो महिला है उसकी भी मौत हुई है। उड़ीसा के मुख्तलिफ इलाकों में लोग जो है घायल हुए हैं, और घायल अवस्था में उनको बारामूला हॉस्पिटल जो है वहां पहुंचाया गया। और रात भर हमने देखा, सिचुएशन को मॉनिटर किया, और काफी दहशत भरी रात थी जो लफ्जों में बयान नहीं किया जा सकता है।
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also, since you understand and you are both of you well read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has
Indeed.
not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he's been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the successes which Baloch Liberation Army has actually achieved.
That's why I said he's one of the most failed generals of Pakistan. One, the most popular leader was incarcerated. Wahi unpopular ho gaya. He didn't deserve to be army chief. He became army chief. He usurped somebody's position. Third, the Baloch have bajawed them. The Pakistani military, the Jafar Express is the biggest embarrassment. Usse pehle November last year also they had this when they took over an entire city for 3 days. Then the Afghans, they are upset with him. The Sindhi, the Cholistan project has rendered him very, very unpopular again. That's his pet project, and he's accused of perhaps even... Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you for staying with us here at CNN News 18 on our continuous and rolling coverage on Operation Sindoor. Post the Pahalgam massacre, Bharat has said enough is enough. Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised a war on terror, especially terror emanating from Pakistan, where he promised to identify, track, punish. A whole of government approach is being witnessed, where Bharat, via Operation Sindoor, only targeted terror infrastructure. But the Pakistan military and Pakistan state have come and targeted Bharat's military installations not once but twice. So it's a military response for a counter-terrorism measure that automatically hyphenates Pakistan as a terror state. Bharat is building up to that. As we get you pictures, things are under control. Bharat has been able to negate any effort to try and attack any military or otherwise installations across the western border, from Leh to Uri to all the way down in Bhuj and Jaisalmer, so Gujarat and also Rajasthan. There have been multiple attempts across 15 to 17 locations which have been thwarted ably by the defense systems that we've put in place. Our armed forces are on the vigil. Our forces are awake. Our forces are not just guarding the territory, but also the skies, and doing it in such a way that not a single projectile or loitering munition fired by the Pak military has been able to find its target. It's not even able to land. It's been neutralized in the air. That's the capabilities that Bharat has. We are strong, we are able, and we will punish those who are backing terror. And we will punish the entire AKA system of terror. That's the message that Bharat has woken up to this Friday morning. Let's try and get you up to speed on the developments so far from the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May till 9 a.m. this morning. After Pakistan violates ceasefire along the LOC, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah is all set to visit Jammu, Rajouri and Poonch, where there's been cross-firing even across the international border. He'll take a stock of situation and assess the damage done due to Pakistan's incessant artillery shelling. Fresh shelling has also taken place in Uri. The shelling has taken place in civilian areas. There has been another death. An old lady has died. 3-4 people have also been injured. And locals are trying to move away from the shelling areas. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has postponed the CA examinations that were scheduled to take place between the 9th and the 14th of May. The revised dates will be announced soon. Federation of All India Medical Association, or FIMA, has called medical professionals to remain on standby and organize blood donation camps to ensure medical needs for the armed forces personnel and civilians during these escalated times are met. Ministry of External Affairs is set to brief the media today. So it will be a joint briefing as we've seen so far. And this will be the third press briefing by the government within 3 days. The time of this briefing has not yet been updated. The Indian Army has released a statement on last night's strikes. The statement says that the Pakistan Armed Forces launched multiple attacks using drones and other munitions along the entire western border on the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May. Pak troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and befitting reply was given to the ceasefire violations. Jammu and Kashmir LG Manoj Sinha will be visiting Uri to take stock of the situation that has arisen due to heavy Pak shelling from the Pak side. Locals say since 1998 they have not seen such kind of shelling. But Bharatiya forces are responding in equal and far more punitive measure. Let's go across to our guests. Before that, let's go across to our reporters. Our reporters are on ground. The News 18 network team of reporters has been working tirelessly to get our viewers correct, verified, and reliable news. And we are proud of the coverage that we've been able to bring to you because we've been able to keep it factual. Thanks to our entire team of reporters and, of course, those working tirelessly at the back end. Let's go across first to Arunima with the latest on what's happening in the South Block. Arunima, you have an update that the 3 service chiefs are there to brief the Raksha Mantri.
Yes, we're told that tentatively around 9:30, the tri-service chiefs, along with the CDS, they're going to brief the Raksha Mantri about the overnight situation. They have been obviously keeping the line going all over last night because situation was quite tense. Yesterday afternoon also, India responded effectively in Lahore, in Rawalpindi, in Karachi, and then Pakistan's misadventure started overnight. They were all foiled. There were at least 8 missiles that were taken down. There are unconfirmed reports about Pakistani aircrafts also. But amidst all of this, the tri-service chiefs are going to meet Raksha Mantri. Operation Sindoor is very much on. We're also being told that Home Minister is likely to meet, the DGs of all border guarding paramilitary forces. He had a call last night with BSF DG and CISF DG. He's also been keeping the line going with the DGPs of all the border states because situation is quite tense after what happened in Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, Bhuj in Kutch of Gujarat, Punjab, Pathankot, Jammu and Srinagar were on fire. The entire LOC and international border was on fire. So what is it being done to keep the civilians safe? That's the mandate that the Home Minister is keeping, while Raksha Mantri and the tri-service chiefs are ensuring that the military has a free hand in taking on Pakistan. I think we are also possibly looking at, even though I'm waiting for that confirmation, but
Right.
possibly after Raksha Mantri's briefing, Raksha Mantri, NSA and Home Minister could meet the PM again.
So there could be another round of meeting at the highest levels of government, Arunima. That's what you're telling us. We'll come back to you in a bit. Akash is also with us. Ishan is also with us. Our reporters on the move, both Akash and Ishan, trying to cover the length and breadth of Jammu and Kashmir and those regions along the international border and the line of control. Anshul is also there. He's in Pathankot. Akash, so the Raksha Mantri is going to take stock. There is going to be a joint briefing. So the MOD has to now calibrate what's happened through the night of 8th and 9th. So all reporters are on screen. But yes, Akash, you're on the move. So where are you heading to and what do you see around you? And take us through what's expected from the MOD aspect or the defense aspect.
Right. So Anand, I'm moving towards Jammu. It is all peaceful here, and thanks to our armed forces that all of those attempts were thwarted last night. It's all peaceful. Rajesh Bhardwaj will in fact show you the road. There you have normal vehicular movement as well. So there is no panic, and thankfully, people are continuing their work as per their routine. Also, as far as this meeting is concerned, as Raksha Mantri is all set to meet 3 service chiefs and also CDS. Anand, what I have been told is that IDS has taken a command. We still don't have theater commands, here in the country. We know that how integrated efforts are there. We know our armed forces are working. But now IDS has also taken command, and that's the reason why the role of CDS would become very important. In terms of
Can you explain to our viewers CDS is the Chief of Defense Staff, but what is IDS? Can you explain the contours in a bit of detail for our viewers?
Right.
Yeah.
So IDS is Integrated Defense Staff. When we talk about IDS, so the whole idea is to have an integrated effort, by the armed forces in any sort of contingency. India has been working on integration of these armed forces. In fact, we have been working on theaterization where we can have different theaters, and rather than any singular force, any army, air force or navy, we will have a combined command where one officer can lead all the three forces in a particular theater. Though we don't have any operational theater as of now as far as these borders are concerned, but these efforts are somewhere showing that forces are already working in an integrated manner, because we have seen that how both Indian Army and Air Force have thwarted the attempts. In fact, when we talk about IDSO, we have been told that all the information flow or the coordination will be taken care of by the IDS now, and that's why CDS, the role of CDS would become very important. CDS is someone who heads the Department of Military Affairs, and DMA is a department that coordinates between these armed forces. So now armed forces are working jointly. A jointness is something that is very much seen. Now coming to the aspects of different weapons and the sort of attack that was seen last night.
No,
Anand,
we'll come to
from
that.
Leh Ladakh to
I'll come to the breakup of what was used to defend our skies and what kind of defense systems in a bit. But just taking from what Arunima has just said, that the three service chiefs and the CDS will be meeting the Raksha Mantri, and you're saying the IDS has taken command. So there is an integrated defense staff. So clearly, theaters, action theaters were going to be built: Western Theater, Western Command, the Central Command or Southern Command, and also the Eastern Command. So three theaters were supposed to be there, where the all this armed wings of the armed forces would be integrated. But there is an integrated defense staff that's already taking shape, is what Akash is telling us, and he explained the contours. Just going to Ishan, and then I'll come back to you, Arunima and Akash, and we'll try and talk about how we defended the skies. Ishan, you've seen some of those places on ground. Uri, Tangdar, these are all regions which are where the Dushman, if I may say, or the enemy has a vantage point, because they are on the heights. And that's where the locals, the civilians, are facing the brunt of Pakistani artillery action, along with what is happening in Punch. Whereabouts are you, and what's the update? Has there been fresh ceasefire violations post daybreak?
Well, absolutely. There has been fresh ceasefire violation, at least in Uri, where gunfire and artillery shelling can be heard. Locals are still reporting that there is shelling going on at those locations along the line of control, and civilian areas have been badly hit. When I say badly, Anand, it means that houses have been hit, residential houses have been hit, not only in Uri but also in Kupwara, where Tangdar, we're getting images and pictures of houses being damaged, heavily damaged, and a lot of people have now started even to move out of those areas. Though the government had already moved some families, had kept arrangements for them, but now people are seriously thinking, considering the fact that what happened last night, some of them are telling us they haven't seen it in last 2 to 3 decades. The sort of shelling that took place, the sort of intensity at which the shelling was coming is unprecedented. There have been vehicles who have also been damaged. Even in Poonch and Rajouri, there was an intense shelling that took place during the night time. There was heightened activity that took place, particularly towards the air, and there was a lot of commotion that we witnessed. There was dark at night, blackout in Srinagar, in Jammu. Every place was like that. We're heading into Uri to see for ourselves the sort of damage that has been inflicted by Pakistan shelling, particularly towards the civilian areas. The army has given a befitting response. Chief Minister is going on the ground. The Lieutenant Governor will also be in Uri to assess the damage and the situation and how things are panning out in terms of the medical aid, in terms of the facilities, in terms of the vehicles kept there for the movement of those civilians who feel trapped in the middle of shelling.
Right. Try and see if you can go up to Salamabad in the Uri district, because that's closer to the LOC, and there's been huge amount of damage that's been inflicted by the Pakistan guns. And those pictures, viewers, is the result of the Pakistan artillery, incessant artillery. It's about just taking and aiming and firing randomly without any care that it's landing on civilian homes, on innocents, which is again a war crime. It's a trespassing of the basic guidelines or principles of conflict or war. Going back to Arunima and Akash on the IDS aspect, how do the para come in? Because Arunima, you track the para. Is there a possible meeting between the Home Minister, the Defense Minister, the NSA, all of them, and them briefing the Raksha Mantri collectively in the presence of the CDS? Is that a possibility? And when it comes to an IDS, do the para also come into play, like the BSF, the ITBP, the SSB, CAPF? Yeah.
See, Border Security Force, Anand, is already working under the command of the Indian Army. On the line of control, it's the Indian Army which is at the front line, but BSF is also working within the command of Indian Army. So when you ask whether under the IDS, BSF will also part of the command because they're already under the Army, effectively, yes. But essentially, IDS would mean a joint command of the three services, the Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Army, of course. Now, when you ask whether the string of meetings, briefing of the Prime Minister will continue, very, very high possibility, because the situation as it is unfolding is very fluid. We all know what has happened overnight, but thankfully by this morning, I mean, post midnight, we have not seen any misadventure on the part of Pakistan. Nothing that has been made public as yet by
Right.
official handle of ADGPI. And this morning also, the reports that are coming in from Jaisalmer and from Gujarat, from Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir is nothing this morning ever since daybreak has happened.
Yes.
Even though the Indian Air Force is not yet confirming, I must tell you that Jaisalmer's district administration is giving us an indication about a possible pilot from Pakistan. If indeed this is true,
Well,
then there's also that leverage that India has. And that
I would just like to tell you, Arnima, we had Bhavani joining us from Jaisalmer, and Bhavani was very clear that there is no confirmation of the same so far from the forces or from the local command there. Whether there has been an F-16 downed or whether a Pakistani pilot has been captured alive, there has been no confirmation of the same. So we're going to stay with that because Bhavani is on ground. So we'll stick with that till there is any confirmation otherwise. So that's what we will do because the rest then becomes conjecture. But like you said, that this is a situation that's fluid, and clearly the Pak military and Pak establishment has decided to escalate the situation. They are not wanting to tone down the entire bluster. So clearly Bharat will have to recalibrate and be ready for perhaps taking it a notch up and telling them that you can keep raising the decibels, we'll only hit you back harder and louder. Akash, the fact that it was all firecrackers in the sky, it was unnerving for the people. A lot of explosions through the night. A lot of people watching on TV also got a little worried. But the most important aspect is not a single projectile landed on the intended target. They were all neutralized in the skies itself. How did that happen? We talked about the MR SAMs. We talked about the Akash, and we also talked about S-400 all through the 8th. But on the 9th, there are some new dynamics also that have come into play.
Right. So, Anand, air defense, is one crucial aspect of any sort of war, especially in the current times. We have seen Russia-Ukraine, where air defense is playing a major role, and we have seen the Israel-Gaza as well. Though the nature of both the conflicts or the war, is different, but in Indian context, this is very important given the fact that this is not a full-fledged war, and it started, with India in fact, avenging what happened on 22nd of April in Pahalgam, then Pakistan retaliating to it, and then, India giving it back. We have categorically mentioned that we don't want any escalation. In all those two press conferences, and in fact the communication that is there on social media, it has been categorically mentioned. Our external affairs minister, is in fact, talking to the international community and in fact the heads of the states, that how we don't want any escalation. But if they will try to attack us, then we'll give a befitting reply. Last night, when the attempt to destroy our air defense was thwarted, yesterday morning, we in fact destroyed their air defenses, and in fact, as Arunima was pointing out, there are different cities who are hit. No civilian target, but yes, the air defense and the air radars. Now, when they tried, our air defense was in play, and in any warlike situation, Anand, I was mentioning it earlier. Air Force is the force that takes command of the air defense, the entire air defense. Indian Army has got one AAD unit, that is Army Air Defense Corps. We have officers, we have got weapons for it, we have AD weapons, we have in fact MRSAMs for that. But Indian Army is responsible for their their infrastructure, their units, and in fact they are there for the tactical deployment as far as air defense is concerned. In this particular case, what we saw was an integrated effort, where in fact in Leh, when I was told that in fact the core headquarters there in Leh was targeted, a drone was sent there. the L-70 guns, in fact, played a major role. These are the guns that were integrated with anti-drone, systems and the technologies just a few years back. If I'm not wrong, these guns were upgraded. And then we had these multiple, air defense guns for Indian Army. Akash is, of course, with Army as well, and there is an integrated command, with Air Force that was, in fact, taking a call as far as Akash Air Defense, Akash Tir, which is, and also S-400 is concerned.
Right.
For drones, Akash played an important role because, it was able to, in fact, detect and engage the targets before, before these drones are hitting the actual target. So it was a success for Indian Armed Forces. And they were able to thwart all of these attempts. We don't have even a single report, Anand, where we are learning about any sort of destruction, damage, or the claims that Pakistani social media handles are making. At this point in time, we know about the sort of action that Indian Armed Forces have taken, in reply to what happened last night at around 8 p.m. starting from Jammu airport and the nearby areas. But we are, in fact, we will wait for the official press conference where details would be out, and in fact, we'll get to know as to what was the kind of reply that Indian Armed Forces have given.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive explanation. We'll try and also put it out into visual graphics for our viewers in some time. It's all happening as we speak. It's continuous live rolling coverage. Our teams are also working round the clock at the back end to get you the latest, authentic, verified information here on the News 18 network, especially on CNN News 18. Plus, please subscribe or sign in, follow the PIB India or PIB fact check handles on X, because the Press Information Bureau is also working tirelessly to try and quell a lot of disinformation that's being peddled by Pakistan. There was a devious attempt, viewers, before we go across to the next development, devious attempt by the Pakistanis to work along with the Khalistanis, their own puppets, to try and create an atmosphere that the Pakistani military will target Amritsar and perhaps the Harmandir Sahib there, and blame it on Bharat to say, see, Bharat has now attacked Gurdwara and Harmandir Sahib, and create this entire misinformation, disinformation campaign and a lopsided narrative on social media. All of that was quelled because of these air defense systems that neutralized, and we've got visual proof that the drones and the firing and the projectiles were coming from across the international border. It was the Pakistanis who were doing this. They also bombed and they also attacked Gurdwara and Punch. They killed 4 Panthis. They've injured young Sikh children, women, and this is the brutality they have pushed. They just don't care. These are brutes who stand with jihadis. This is a jihadi mujahideen backer Pakistan military and a Pakistan state. And Bharat is now going to brand them terror state Pakistan in front of the world. Whether the hyphenation happens officially, we'll have to wait and watch. But clearly, Asim Munir's escalation is not going to go unpunished. The other thing is, go back to Pakistan's political and military history, and barring 1971, name a general who's failed so many times and he's been such a big failure. Hope the Pakistanis wake up to this. More news coming through here. Fresh visuals of ceasefire violation from Pakistan side along the line of control. This is in the Digwar sector of Punch. The Indian Army is retaliating effectively and very, very strongly. But from the Pakistani guns, there has been damage to civilian areas. And Punch has borne quite the brunt of it between 7th, 8th and 9th. Tejinder Sodhi joins us with more. Yes, Tejinder.
Anand, you see, Pakistan has been continuously targeting the civilian population, and this time they are using the Chinese-made SH-15 self-propelled Howitzer guns, which are made by China's Norinco, and they are being used by the Pakistan Army to target the civilian population. These guns they, have an extended range, so they are being used to target the civilian population in Punch, in Uri, and in other parts of Jammu and Kashmir along the line of control. Though the Indian Army is giving a befitting response to Pakistan, but there has been civilian casualties. One woman has lost her life in Uri, 3 others have been injured in Punch. 1 civilian has been killed in the Pakistani aggression. So Pakistan continues to violate the ceasefire along the line of control. There was another incident of cross-border firing in the Samba sector, wherein the border security force foiled a major infiltration bid from across the border. Several terrorists who were attempting to infiltrate into the Indian side, they were also eliminated by the border security force. So the situation along the entire stretch of line of control in Jammu and Kashmir remains tense. There has been several incidents of ceasefire violation in the Karna Keran sector of Kupwara district, but yes, the Indian Army is paying in an equal caliber to Pakistan. The retaliation is on. There has been firing going on in several locations in Poonch, Rajouri right now as we speak. In Digwar sector, Pakistan once again targeted the civilian population, but the Indian Army is right now responding in an equitable manner to the Pakistani aggression. Yes, Anand.
Well, thank you for that update, Tejinder. Stay safe. There has been a lot of pounding that Jammu region also and Jammu city has endured, and but it's all been thwarted. It's been thwarted by our defense systems and our mechanism. Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar is with us. Geopolitical expert is joining us. We also have Group Captain MJ Augustine Vinod with us at this point, and we will also be joined by Major General Indra Balan. Kargil war veteran and also currently military technology advisor. We'll go across to all of them, but let's just quickly understand what are the non-kinetic offensives that Bharat is already undertaking. The tap is on, so the dams are opening. We'll get you those pictures also. That's fresh trouble, which the Pakistanis don't seem to have accounted for with the Indus Water Treaty being put in abeyance. But along with that, there is a financial offensive. Now, this is the financial offensive. New Delhi has put in motion a plan to isolate Pakistan globally and not just at the UN Security Council. Now, India could take this fight to the International Monetary Fund, and whose bailouts are key to keep Pakistan afloat. There is a $1 billion release that is scheduled on the 9th, that is today, and Pakistan is going to have that meeting. So there is going to be a meeting in a short while from now at 9:30, where Bharat is going to very aggressively tell the IMF, look where your money is going, look what they are doing, and don't give them any more money. Don't do this. The other part is the FATF blacklisting. The FATF blacklisting, Pakistan, let's try and understand this. In the last 5 years, Pakistan has received several IMF bailouts and doles. A $6 billion loan under the extended fund facility was given to Pakistan in 2019. A $3 billion standby arrangement was agreed upon in 2023 when Pakistan had emerged out of the FATF grey list in 2022. Now, their political crisis compounded with an economic downturn and drove this nation into a debt burden to terminal levels. Now, last year, a $6 billion loan was approved in September. And just last month, the IMF reached an agreement with Pakistan on a new $1.3 billion loan program and reviewed an existing bailout. Now, if approved, this would unlock an additional $1 billion for Pakistan in funding. The FATF grey listing will stop any of this funding to be used and any further resources, and also Pakistan's ability to raise any money internationally. So there are two aspects. One is stop this $1.3 billion bailout, and the other one is push for Pakistan to return back into the FATF grey list, if not blacklist. Pallavi Ghosh joins us with more. Pallavi, the external debt of Pakistan is to a level that Pakistan as a nation can never chukao. It's an endless bucket. Can Bharat stop any more money being put into that bucket? Because that money is being drawn towards terror and jihadis and state funerals for jihadis.
You know, Anand, there's plenty which we have to provide evidence to the world, and they're called multilateral development banks, or the MDBs. So what the MDBs include are, of course, the IMF, there's World Bank, there's the EDB. Now, countries like Pakistan depend a lot on this aid because their own economy is not generating much of revenue. And, you know, they say that we have, for example, road infrastructure, colleges, hospitals, you know, those kind of infrastructural developments does require money coming in from these MDBs. And that is what India has been offering evidence to show that this is the money you're giving them, supposedly for infrastructural development. But what is really happening is that money is now being diverted to fund the school of terror. And what India has been saying, and which I think they're going to say it once again today, is that, mind you, the school of terror is not limited just to India. The problem is that whether you're talking about bomb blasts or, for example, the London Bridge blast, or you talk about the Moscow theater blast, all of them can be tracked down to some way or the other to Pakistan, because Pakistan has an entire network with, say, Hamas and other terrorist organizations. So it's not just about India. You have to cut off this kind of a lifeline to Pakistan to ensure that terrorism across the world, all the archives of terrorism face so much of trouble that they don't have any lifeline to survive. After all, if you don't have money, where are you going to keep your terror hideouts or units ready and thriving? So that is the pitch which is going to be put forward by India. Even as we speak, very shortly, the internal finance ministry meeting is going to begin. The Department of Revenue is the nodal department because Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF as it's called, 1989 it was set up, Anand, to deal specifically with money laundering.
Pallavi, even as we speak, look what Reuters is citing. It's citing the Pakistan government saying we urge international partners to support de-escalation amid escalating war and the collapse of our stock markets. We appeal to international partners to provide more loans after the heavy losses caused by India's retaliation. Look at their narrative. The whole story is Pahalgam massacre happened and then Operation Sindoor happened. It's the Pak military that resorted to escalation. Can India convince the international fraternity, look who's the villain here?
See, Anand, when the entire narrative, which is again going to be pushed by Pakistan, wherever those meetings start beginning, is that look, we have not indulged in any war of terror. It is India which is warmongering. In fact, India, you believe it or not, India should be put on the grey list and India should be held accountable. And because of this warmongering and needless provocation coming in from India, our economy is in shreds. So why should the poor people of Pakistan have to pay the price for it?
Let the poor people of Pakistan first boot out the military and defang them altogether. The first person who needs to go is General Asim Munir, who many are now calling him as Mullah Munir. Perhaps let's go across to our guest. Thank you, Pallavi, and ask them. Major General Indra Balan, in the political history of Pakistan, Group Captain Vinod and Lieutenant Colonel, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. A lot of things are happening, so we're just trying to be on a live and rolling coverage. But General Indra Balan, in Pakistan's military history, has there been a far more failure as a general outside of what happened in 1971? He's failed on all fronts.
Yeah, Jai Hind, Anand, it's great to interact with you on the national channel. Firstly, yes, directly coming to your question, Asim Munir has been a failure right through. But if you were to compare, I think where have been the successful general at all? Where is the comparison? Whom will you compare with? You see, any war that India has fought with Pakistan, any war that's been initiated, it's been a failure for them. India has not only given a befitting reply, but in all the wars, they had to withdraw and they have suffered a humiliating defeat, 71 being the worst. So if at all, certain generals, whether it is Bajwa or some of them who tried to support democracy, who had a more rational thinking, every other general has been a failure. Asim Munir, of course, he tops the list of failures. All said and done, his provocative speak, anti-India speak, anti-Hindu speech, and also talking of how Pakistan is going to, retake Kashmir, the jugular vein concept, all this whipping up of passions. I think it is never done by a general. No general speaks like this in political language. I don't think he even knows what his army is capable of, what his army's limitations are, where his army is going to be in case of a war with India, how they are going to be routed. I don't think he's ever done any strategic, tactical, or geopolitical analysis of the whole thing. He's possibly purely a military general with an ISI mindset of carrying with him the baggage of getting Kashmir back somehow or the other. But it looks like his design is going to entirely fail. And we have fairly thwarted every single attempt by Pakistan, even in the current context. Whether it is their attack by missiles, whether it is attacked by drones, and India's drone technology, since I advise 3 drone companies on developing military technology, I'll speak on it later, how we have managed to thwart these and what we can do in future. But suffice to say that I completely agree with your position that Asim Munir needs to be branded as possibly the most failed general of the Pakistan Army.
And now the Pakistan establishment and the Pakistan people have to see whether they want to get him booted out or they want us to do that too.
Yes, absolutely. The people of Pakistan are definitely going to raise on this. I said almost 1 week back. So I do a lot of talk here in South India. I can also bring you the perspectives of what's happening in South India. I'm live on Malayalam channels and Tamil channels. I interact a lot with these people here. So there is a fair amount of interest here in South India about what's happening along the borders. Though people in South India are not suffering as much as the people in Jammu, Poonch, Rajouri, that sector, and Punjab, etc. But I think South India is completely integrated with the North in with the psychological support, moral support. And here there's a different narrative also happening about what would be the impact in South India should Pakistan trying to further foment a religious divide by targeted attacks on Hindus, by targeted attacks on Sikhs, where it may all lead to. It's another narrative that's happening here. So I'm also capable of trying to bring you what kind of narrative is happening here. But that notwithstanding, I think India has stood together, and we are here to spoil the designs of.
Here's what the Pakistanis tried. The Pakistanis tried to attack Amritsar, and then they activated the Khalistani social media handles, thinking they will succeed, to say that, see, they took off from Ambala and they have bombed Amritsar. That's what they wanted to do, but it all failed because of our air defense systems. 3 days and 3 such huge failures for the Pak military. इससे ज़्यादा फजीयत या क्या हो सकता है, General, Group Captain Vinod? What more does an Asim Munir want to show that he is a failed project?
It's a good question, Anand. Garhwal, I mean, my wife is from Garhwal, Garhwali में कहावत है, थोड़ा मारे बहुत रोए, बहुत मारे चुप. मतलब if you hit someone little bit, वो रोता रहेगा, वो लगाओ तो वो चुप हो जाएगा. Asim Munir is like that. अभी इतना मार पड़ा है, अब तो चुप है. But what I wanted to explain to our viewers is about the air defense part. I mean, been an air defense pilot all my life. The air defense part, I mean, 24th of October last year, with one of your friends, I was discussing about air defense, and I said, if you do not give adequate importance to an air defense, you might as well hand over your country on a platter to the enemy. So that's what I said, and they explained it to them. And so I'll take 2 minutes.
We've just got an update. Just need to bring you up to speed because it's a live and developing situation. There's an air warning that's been issued. It's been received from the Air Force Station of a possible attack. Sirens are being sounded, and all are advised to remain indoors and away from balconies. Tejinder Sodhi joins us, and this is in Chandigarh. Tejinder, when did this happen, Tejinder?
Just a few moments ago, the Deputy Commissioner of Chandigarh has issued this alert. He's saying that an air warning has been received from the Air Force Station of a possible attack. So across the entire Chandigarh, sirens are being sounded. It's been more than 15 minutes now that the sirens are going on in Chandigarh. So the administration has advised people to remain indoors and away from the balconies. This is the advisory which the Deputy Commissioner of Chandigarh has issued to the people. The sources are saying that there is a possibility of a drone attack in Chandigarh. So the precautions are being put into place, and the air defense mechanism has already been activated in and around the entire area to ensure that any possibility of a drone or any projectile attack from the Pakistan side is thwarted, as India did last night when Pakistan tried to attack the civilian airport in Jammu and other military locations. All those projectiles that were fired from the Pakistan side were destroyed by our air defense mechanism. So right now, a similar kind of alert has been sounded in Chandigarh, where the Deputy Commissioner is saying that he has received this warning from the Air Force Station. Yes.
Right. So Chandigarh air sirens have gone out, and there is a Deputy Commissioner saying that there could be an air raid, a possible air raid, not necessarily aircraft. It could be projectiles, long distance, or even swarms. Drone swarms that come in. So 2 gentlemen here who are working on drone technology. Lieutenant Colonel Atul Hodkar, your thoughts before I go circle back to Major General Indra Balan and Group Captain Vinod. This current posture by the Pak military, is it suicidal for them? Are they hurtling down a path of no return for them?
Jai Hind, Anand.
Jai Hind.
We need to be very, very careful in coming days. See, you got to understand the Pakistani army has a general heading which the army doesn't like, has a political prime minister which the Pakistani people didn't elect, and Pakistan has a population which no one cares for. It's into a leadership vacuum and a divided home. People, political parties, and army, they all divided. If you look into the army also, the army is also divided. I'm not sure that how many generals are currently ready to support Munir's, this adventure. And if you look into, Pakistan itself, all the 4 provinces are fighting against the central forces. And you have the PLA, you have the TTP, you have the Taliban on one side, you have the Sindh unrest, which is currently going on. And Punjab is not ready to take this on. I don't know whether Mariam Nawaz has ever spoken to Munir and asked him to back off, because there is no one appears to be in control of Pakistan. And I really dread at this stage, because when you have a madman with no control heading a particular country with nukes in hand, we need to be very, very careful. And I'm very happy and quite satisfied the way we have not escalated. We just responded to what Pakistan has done, and we don't want to escalate. We don't want to go back to level where Pakistan is. There's no ego about it. What are we comparing ourselves with? A country which is a rogue nation, which is on the brink of disaster, about to collapse. We are a nation which is growing fast. We as Indians must support the government and be level-headed. Let's not be very, very jingoistic about any war with Pakistan. We don't want wars. We are on a path of great, development. And it's time that we people out here on the television sets and intellectuals in the country calm the nerves of our people. And let's not say that we need blood for blood or that kind of thing. We need to be very, very balanced, Anand.
No, we need to be balanced. We are very, very balanced. But the nation that is imbalanced, sir, if there is a mosquito that is irritating you, you do something about the mosquito. You don't say let it continue to irritate. Nobody is portraying the mosquito as an elephant. The mosquito is a mosquito, but that mosquito can also spread disease. So that's why the mosquito needs to be eliminated.
So I take one step ahead of that, and I say that, see, what India has done has very calculated moves have been taken. It has taken the international community into, it has informed the international community. It is taking all possible actions, both from all 3 places, whether it's ground, air, or the sea. We will, and this is one of the finest moments to put this particular enemy and irritant down onto earth and divide it. Fact is that whatever action we take has to be very measured, calculated, and it has to be taken to its logical conclusion.
Absolutely, totally agree. Like I said, when you put down the mosquito, we don't need empty claps. With each clap, we have to put down more mosquitoes and eventually destroy this entire swarm that is creating so much of problems, and it has caused so much of disease in this entire region. We just have more news, and then we'll go back to General Indrabalan and also Captain Vinod, Group Captain Vinod. Media reports claim Pakistan government saying we urge the international partners to support de-escalation amid escalating war and collapse of stock markets. Siddhant Mishra is with us. Siddhant, Pakistan is desperate. They say, "Aur paisa de do, loan de do, hamara band bach gaya hai," and somebody intervene. But the globe is saying, "Sorry, tumhara mamla hai, tum sulzhao, we are not getting involved."
Well, that's right, Anand. In fact, the traditional, partners and allies of Pakistan, in fact, those who have been supporting Pakistan from a very, very long time have also parted their ways this time around. And in fact, they all have issued strong statement in favor of India, whether it's Qatar, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether in fact the other countries in the West Asia. Perhaps, they have understood. And this time around, Pakistan has been fully exposed by India. In fact, the other day, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri briefed foreign envoys. In fact, Indian ambassadors to UK and US are perhaps speaking to media networks there, perhaps exposing Pakistan and how Pakistan has been involved in terror attacks in India. And this is the reason that, there is a global consensus, Anand, now against Pak-sponsored terrorism. And this is the reason that none of these countries are backing Pakistan at this point in time. In fact, Deputy Saudi Foreign Minister was in India yesterday, and in fact he met EMS Jaishankar, and chatter is that he also called on Prime Minister Modi. So it says that which side these countries have chosen, and it is all because they have understood the disinformation and lies that Pakistan has been peddling from last so many years. these
Right.
countries have also understood the global significance of India in geopolitics.
Right.
And this is the reason that these countries are now fully backing, and they're not listening to the call that Pakistan is giving for
Right.
de-escalation, etc., etc.
Right. How did we develop the technology to neutralize these drones? What are the kind of capabilities that we have with respect to loitering munitions and also defense systems? We'll talk to General Indra Balan, Group Captain MJ Vinod, and Lieutenant Colonel Holkar after a very short break. Stay with us.
आपके घर के खाने
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
And also, since you understand and you are both of you well read in military history, has any other Pakistan general has had such reversals and such a poor tenure other than the 1971 episode? So,
see,
is he one of Pakistan's most failed generals?
See, Pakistan and its military has had a very unique characteristic. Asim Munir should not have been the army chief. He should have retired. He's actually an usurper. He was actually brought in one day after his retirement.
So you've called him an usurper, but he's been nicknamed the deceiver. From his major days, he's been nicknamed the deceiver. There's a Pakistani former Fauji who sold us this. We'll put it out on the broadcast later. But yes, Hanji, please complete.
So he has actually been brought in by politicians for meeting their own specific requirements. His mindset was clearly revealed when he talked about two-nation theory, when he talked about religion, when he talked about faith. So this chap, he's not even from Pakistan Military Academy. So it's not that many people in Pakistan's army itself like him. But at the moment, he's in power, and the civilian government in Pakistan is totally dependent on him. In fact, he is responsible for ensuring that Shahbaz Sharif is in power. The fake elections, the fraud elections, which they actually inflicted on the people of Pakistan, were conducted under his watch. And he has continued to patronize terrorism, which was very clearly evident with the presence of large-scale army personnel at the funeral of these jihadi terrorists, and the way he has been acting since taking over. He has not only been indulging in random acts of violence, he's been making statements against Afghanistan, against Pakistan. He is not only that, he has actually gone on to sack some of the lieutenant generals and senior officers in Pakistan army who were slightly more rational. So there are dissensions within Pakistan army, and of course that's been made very clear by the successes which Baloch Liberation Army has actually achieved.
That's why I said, is he one of the most failed generals of Pakistan? One, the most popular leader was incarcerated. Wahi unpopular ho gaya. He didn't deserve to be army chief. He became army chief. He usurped somebody's position. Third, the Baloch have bajawed them. The Pakistani military, the Jafar Express is the biggest embarrassment. Usse pehle November last year also they had this when they took over an entire city for 3 days. Then the Afghans, they are upset with him. The Sindhi, the Cholistan project has rendered him very, very unpopular again. That's his pet project, and he's accused of perhaps even siphoning of billions from that, making money off it. And now currently with what he's inflicted upon Pakistan. So, and 3 nights of reversals. एक तो आपने कहा हम तैयार है, आ जाओ, कोशिश करो, हमने 9 जगह ठोक दिया उनको, सारे टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ध्वस्त कर दिए. देन बोला हम आएंगे, जवाबी कार्रवाई करेंगे, सब फेल हो गए. फिर हमने उनके ADSs को we've demolished in Pindi, in Lahore, in Karachi, in Sialkot. Then last night they tried again, and nothing has worked there. Nothing has worked, and we've countered there, and there is a huge amount of pummeling. We are waiting for the official briefing, but we are given to understand Pakistan has suffered huge reversals last night in the retaliation from Bharat based on the equal measure retaliation. उन्होंने 15 लोकेशन चूज किए हैं, हमने भी 15 लोकेशन में उनको काफी मारा है. They are not coming out and saying it, but we will claim, and perhaps there will be a briefing today for more details on what's happened last night. But right now, some more news coming through before we go back to General Kocher. We are learning from defense sources. At least 45 drones were taken down by the Army Air Defense itself. And this is between Ladakh to Bhuj. So military infrastructure in Leh was also targeted last night by Pakistan. No success from the length and breadth of such a long area, geographical space they've tried to cover. Akash joining us with more. Yes, Akash.
Anand, first of all, it is largely peaceful in the morning hours, so no need to panic. It is for the general public.
The general has unleashed.
See, firstly,
and also. A short while ago, morning, I'm just having a snack while we took a break. Finished. Let's go. We're live and rolling, viewers, so bear with me. Indian air defense systems remain vigilant. We've got this update. Last night, IAF used CUAS, Pechora, Summer, and AD guns. So a short while ago, we got you what the army had used, including the 23mm guns. So Pakistan's bid to send drones was thwarted by the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army. The Indian Army is saying across the western border about 15 to 18 locations, they themselves must have neutralized at least 50 drones. The Air Force with the S-400s, the MR-SAMs, the Akash, and including that now so many others that have been now named. Let's go across to Akash and then we'll take this to General Indrabalan and Group Captain Vinod along with Lieutenant Colonel Holkar to talk more about these defense systems and the integrated air defense systems that we now got to help us thwart these threats. Yes, Akash.
So, Anand, as far as air defense is concerned, so we have been discussing it since morning that, we have got a layered air defense, both in Air Force and in Army. And we have been, learning that counter unmanned aircraft systems were very much used. Pechora was very much used. Summer, that is surface to air missile system, that is an integration of S-400, Akash, and MR-SAM, was very much used. It is a layered system where, call is taken on the basis of threat that is coming. S-400, remember, has got a range of 400 kilometers. It can, in fact, identify a threat coming from 400 kilometers, in fact. And, these, in fact, surface to air missiles were very, in fact, useful last night. We have seen, in fact, multiple sources have confirmed that how, these systems were very much employed. AD guns is something, in the last few months, we have seen that both Indian Army and Indian Air Force have carried out, some sort of upgrades in the AD systems, AD guns. And, in AD guns specifically, they have focused on UAVs. In the conflicts around the world, we have been seeing an increased and intensified, in fact, use of UAVs, drones. We have seen that how Iran,
Akash, let's just take this across. I've got limited time, so let's just take this across to the experts who are working on this kind of tech and also advising multiple firms on this. General Indrabalan, CUAS, Pechora, Summer, and the AD guns. This is what the Air Force has also pressed into service last night to guard our skies. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I will leave the air defense experts to talk on the air defense. Suffice to say that we have an integrated air systems which range from short range to medium range to long range to ballistics and all that. The S-400 is the most recent addition with 3 units in place. What I'm going to talk about is how we are going to counter the drone and how India is going to have an edge on the drone warfare, which is what it seems is going to be in the offing if this sub-conventional military arsenal standoff attack continues for a longer time. So drones are here to stay. We've seen what happened in the Ukraine war. The drones have been effectively used by both sides, more by Ukraine. India's drone industry is from nascent. It has upgraded itself to a large extent. India has male drones manufacturing capability, hail drones manufacturing capability, swarm drones manufacturing capability. Plus, also India is manufacturing counter drone systems. So here, what it seems has been used is kinetic counter drone capability, both by using air defense weapon, which is something very fantastic. Directly hitting the drones using air defense guns is like shooting a crow which is flying and we're trying to bring it down, or some system that we're using air guns, which is with high-tech drones being flown. So this is something very new, and India has very, very successfully done. I think compliments to the air defense people to have used the conventional system to bring down drones. But that part, our industry is working on developing different types of counter drones, whether it is called a spoof technology, whether it is called navigational spoofing, communication spoofing, or magnetic spoofing. We are also capable of doing killer drones, kamikaze drones. All this is being developed by the industry.
Right.
What I think the industry, we have more than 60 companies in India all large and small ranges which are working on all this. South India is the heart center of the drone technology. I think the government would really do well if these companies are right now empowered, bring out their technology and display their technology might on the on the international border.
Right. At this
That
point,
apart,
I think, yes, Group Captain Vinod, quick comment. I have to wind up, but yes, please. What's
Yeah,
been
in
pressed
fact,
into service by the Air Force? Ji.
Yeah, in fact, Anand, as Blackwood Abbott, Varsha, my wife, she had gone just day before to deliver some of the drones that we make to the army at Jalandhar, and then she got stuck. And currently, as we speak, she is in the army with her team, stuck because it is completely blacked out and nobody is allowed to go in, nobody is allowed to come out. So the point I'm trying to make is, taking a leaf from what General is talking about, that being indigenous and both in terms of design and development and the production, that is what sets us apart. We are not, for most cases, dependent on import. That is one. Second, quickly I'll cover a point about air defense. In air defense we have something called mass, mix, and mobility. In the mix, we need to have a long range vector, a medium range vector, and the short range vector. So in the long range, we have S-400s. In the medium range, we have the Akash and SAM-3s and all that. But the close-in weapon system, and all three have to hand over from one to another. So we have a backbone called ISCCS, and your boots on the ground is covering, that we are integrated now the Army AD as well as the Air Force AD on one singular backbone, which works so beautifully like the well-oiled machine, which is the reason why none of those Swarm or whatever makeshift drones that came from Pakistan did any kind of damage over us. Over to you.
Right. Lieutenant Colonel Holkar, I have to wind up, but please, yes.
So we basically have a very multi-layered air defense systems, which when we compare it to, HQ-9 of Chinese origin with Pakistan, we have integrated our Russian S-400 along with the Israeli system with our indigenous Akash. And I can tell you one thing which the NATO really dreads is S-400, and it's got a range of as much as 600 kilometers. So we can see deep inside Pakistan. And yesterday, the way we saw our entire AD system, counteracting the Pakistani movement, it was amazing to watch. None of these, as the officer before me said, could penetrate our defense system. Let's wait and watch further.
Yes, let's wait and watch, and perhaps what happens next. Because if we have hit some of their air defense systems, so they are blindsided in some pockets. So there are some blind spots which perhaps Bharat, if it decides to go up the escalatory ladder and beyond just responding to what the Pakistanis do, we'll see what happens. Right now, there is also another aspect as we wind up. Thank you to our guests. As we wind up, viewers, be mindful. The
Palestina. I'm very fond of you. Yes, 2 days back. 2 days back. Love you. Спасибо, что вы приехали. Значит, министр обороны ЮАР, женщина, можно букет подарить? Очень сильно. Значит, Дилма Русов есть тоже букет. Дилма Русов. Милорад Додик. Добрый вечер. Президент Абхазии с супругой. Никола Ваевич. Олег Николаевич. Сегодня? Да. Александр Григорьевич.
Можно к вам?
Welcome.
На английском уже. Ночью. Нет, они имеют в виду, что возможно.
Президент Бразилии с супругой.
Olá,
Президент Буркина-Фасо. Спасибо, что Николас Мадуро с супругой. Конечно. Президент, после моя супруга. Grazie. Excelente. Próximo. Все 19 долларов. Гвинея-Бисау писать. Друг дорогой, примите привет. Как дела? К себе. Yeah. Let's go. How are you? Yeah. Merci beaucoup.